social issues, education, religion, government, or national security. Brannon brings the issues of the day into clear focus through the lens of a Judeo-Christian worldview. And now, here is your host, Brannon Howse.
And welcome to the broadcast on this Wednesday night, June 10th, 2026. Glad you are with us tonight. Ooh, the strikes have started on Iran. The Secretary of War is out saying they're going to get hit strong tonight. We'll see. I guess they've already announced some of the places they're going to hit. Anni Cyrus is going, why are we hitting those places? We'll have Annie on here in a minute. There's also videos all over the place of just constant fighting. Constant, what seems to be folks from Islamic countries, Africa, attacking people that are from those home countries. And of course, right now, as we're on the air, in Ireland, there's a lot, I guess for the second day, a lot of burning going on, a lot of protesting going on. And this is, of course, after a guy that's reportedly from Africa. There's been several reports as to where he's from. The latest we hear is it's somewhere from Africa, attempted to behead a man. Now, if the facts are straight, the man that had the attempted beheading done to him, apparently he was helping that guy move in. This is interesting. We see that people that were trying to help the Palestinians, so-called Hamas people, over there in Israel at the kibbutz, ended up being slaughtered by them. So the social justice warriors end up being slaughtered by the people they're trying to help. I wonder, again, if this is a common theme we're seeing in other parts of the world. People that are kind of bleeding heart liberals, social justice warriors, interfaith dialogue people, whatever you want to call them. They try to help these folks, and then next thing you know, they're being either murdered or attempted murder. Anyway, I got some videos to play. I got to play this too, because I have to have Michael Weiner on to talk about a massive drop in gold and silver tonight. And inflation. Inflation is up. President Trump is out saying he loves inflation. I like it. He said that from the Oval Office today. I don't know why he would say that, because that sounds like something the Democrats are going to turn into a commercial. President Trump loves the fact that your family is struggling to buy groceries. Send President Trump a strong message. You don't love inflation. Vote Democrat. Can you hear that right now? I mean, come on. I just wrote that off the top of my head. It's not going to be hard to show the struggling families with inflation at the grocery store and fuel prices and insurance, health insurance, homeowners insurance, etc. And I don't know why he said that today, but I can promise you it'll be turned into a commercial coming up for the midterms. But I want to ask Michael Weiner about that, inflation, where we're going with that. I want to talk to him more about cryptocurrency, backing cryptocurrencies and stable coins by gold, why the drop in gold and silver, how low will it go? And then Peter Schiff is out saying this. I want to play it when Michael comes on board, but I want to play it for you. Peter Schiff is out saying this. Listen.
Trump has it backwards. The world economy doesn't work because of us. Our economy works because of the world. We have a dysfunctional consumer-based credit economy that rests on the foundation of the U.S. dollar's reserve currency status, and the world is now pulling the rug out from under the U.S. The dollar's going to collapse. The dollar's going to be replaced by gold. Central banks are buying gold to back up their currencies. They're getting rid of dollars. They're getting rid of treasuries. We are headed for an economic crisis, again, that will make the 2008 financial crisis look like a Sunday school picnic. The biggest difference between the crisis that we're about to have and the one we had back then is this one is all in America. It's not going to be exported to the rest of the world. It's not a global financial crisis. It's an American financial crisis. The rest of the world is actually going to benefit.
There you go. All right. We'll do that tonight with Michael Weiner. Matt Staver is going to come on tonight. I pre-recorded with Matt Staver. He's going to come on tonight to talk about many of the cases they're fighting at the Liberty Council and really judges that seem to really have it out for Christians and the rise of anti-Semitism. How about the Ten Commandments going back onto the schoolroom walls? How about a guy in Ohio who is going into the girls' locker room and apparently wearing a woman's swimsuit and some other things we'll get into? It's kind of disgusting. It's not kind of, it's very disgusting. These are minor girls. Okay. What do you think the police are doing about it? I think you know the answer based on my tone of voice tonight. I mean, many of us never thought this would happen here in America, but our judges have turned many of them crazy. I think the police, they have gone crazy. A lot of them, the sheriff's departments, a lot of them have gone completely woke. And if they're not woke, they're kowtowing to the woke politicians because they want to keep their jobs and their pensions. Not all police, not all sheriffs. I get that. But you would think that the sheriffs and the police would step up and say, you're not doing this. There are laws on the books about these kind of things. I'll get into all that with Matt Staver tonight. So Matt Staver, Michael Weiner on economics, CPI, inflation, the death of the dollar, so much more. IPO with SpaceX, and then Anni Cyrus. Now, before we go to Annie first, because I guess strikes are underway in Iran by the U.S., I have a video, friends, I want to play for you. This apparently is in Rockford, Illinois, where my wife was born and raised. Look at this. Little Caesars Pizza launches 100% self-serve restaurants. Customers will order on the app or through the self-serve kiosk. Pizzas will be put in these new pizza dispensing lockers. Locations launched in Rockford, Illinois, and Dearborn Heights, Michigan. According to what I can find, this isn't due to crime. It's to reduce labor cost. Employees only being in the back making pizzas will greatly reduce labor cost and the amount of staff they need to hire. I found this was done mainly to reduce costs. If this is implemented nationwide, it could save Little Caesars around $400 million on labor costs. I'm guessing is that $400 million a year? That's a pretty massive savings. Is there a video of it?
Yo, I ain't never seen a self-serve Little Caesars. This is my first time ever being inside of one. I thought it was pretty cool. You see when you walk in, you can get your mobile order. If you don't have an order, you just wait patiently. If you don't see something that you want on that wall, you see that? You got to just wait a little bit. Bam, see that? Cheese pizza. After you get whatever items you're going to get, you're going to come, you're going to set them on this pad. It's going to weigh your products. You pay for them and you out.
Okay, so automatically my first thought is they're probably doing this because of crime. And it turns out that crime actually isn't a factor here. They're doing it solely because they want to reduce expenses, and that means firing employees and no longer having to hire them and have them work in the front of the store. They're all going to be making pizzas. So they're going to expand on the hot and ready pizza model. So I want to know, like, how much are they going to save nationwide if they roll this out in all their stores? Mm-hmm. So it looks like about $275,000 per store is the cost for the employees. So if they were to implement this new self-service style model, nationwide, they're going to save about $215 to $430 million in labor costs.
Yeah, well, I could see why they would do it. And what was he saying? How much per $275,000 per store? So I don't know. Do you buy Little Caesars? Is that like a franchise thing, you think? Or is that all corporate? Yeah, take a look at that. If you're a franchisee and you can cut $275,000 out of your budget, that is a lot of profit. Again, I'm not one of these people. About 90% are owned by independent operators. Yeah, which means those are middle-class families by and large, a lot of them. A lot of them started out probably as a middle-class family starting a business. And maybe they're not middle-class anymore. And a lot of them are going to maybe jump up from middle-class, $275,000 a year savings. I'm not going to be one of the people that complains about that. I'm sorry. The free market is free to do what they want when it comes to this kind of thing. And if you can save $275,000 a year in labor cost, why would you not? Okay. You're there to offer a service and turn a profit. You're not a charity. Okay. You're not hiring people to work for you as a charity. It's a business. Okay. You put your capital at risk. You offer a service. The government, local, state, federal, is going to steal about half of it. And if you want to complain about government that steals half of it. Because that's one reason why a lot of these people need to automate. They need to automate to save money to make up for the fact local, state, and federal government steals half of your money. So, I get really impatient with all these people that complain, many of them who've never made a payroll, never started a business from scratch, and then they want to complain because the business owner is automating to save money. Well, you know what? A lot of them have to, or there will be no business at all. And that's their job. That's their livelihood. They're not in business. Then the cooks. Good point. Did you say that on mic or just in my ear? Yeah, say it on the mic, Logan.
Said then the cooks won't even have a job.
Yeah, even the cooks won't have a job. So why don't we just be thankful that whoever puts those machines in and services all that stuff gets a job. The cooks in the back have a job. And then all the people delivering the product to the store, they have a job. So there's still a lot of jobs being created. Otherwise, just let them all go out of business and then everybody will be happy. No, they won't. So I'm not one of these guys, again, when it comes to AI, when it comes to automation, I'm not one of these guys complaining because I have had to make payroll for years. And I know what it takes to make an organization stay afloat. So there you go. Now, here's another one, Logan. Apparently, this is a company that called Gatic AI. And they have this 26 and 30-foot box trucks that drive 100% without a driver. Have you seen this, Logan? Look, put that into a search engine. Tell me what you find about that. Gatik. Wow, this is moving fast. Look at this. Watch this.
Never seen these before, but there was 3 that I just passed up. These are called Gatic autonomous delivery trucks. I'm not sure what that's about. I'm going to have to do some research on that.
Us too.
These guys are out on the roads. Looks like they're just going to be autonomous delivery vehicles or something.
Wait, there's a guy in there.
Yep, that's what's going on.
That wasn't autonomous. I saw a guy's arm.
So the question on everyone's mind is how many jobs are these driverless trucks going to eliminate? And this one AI company already has contracts with Pepsi, Walmart, Kroger, and other Fortune 50 grocers and retail. So how many jobs are we actually talking here that these things are going to eliminate for truckers? Now, if you go down here, it says that there are 3.5 million truck drivers in the US. So how many is this going to get rid of? So with full autonomy, you're looking at 400,000 jobs eliminated. And if you look at the broader industry, you're looking at 4.4 million drivers reduced by 2030.
Yeah, well, again, I'm sorry. I know I'm not going to be heartless. I know that's tough for people when that's your livelihood. And maybe the day will come when I'm not sitting here. It's AI telling you everything. I'm out of a job. Well, if people want to watch AI versus Brannon Howse, who is actually going to tell you what's going on through the lens of a biblical worldview and sit here and engage with Logan and you guys and my guests, and if that's what they want to watch, well, the market will get what the market wants. But I'm counting on the fact that most of you still are going to want me to be here live and be real me and real Dolly. But again, I go back to people who are running trucking companies. And is she there? Yeah, well, not only we have Dolly in the studio tonight, the little black schnauzers come in. Maybe you can't see her. She's kind of fading into the dark. She's there. That's the little black schnauzer. She just moved. Right, Lily? Lily, you got the ears. You got amazing ears. Lily hears. She's being Lily. Lily runs the house. Lily does whatever she wants to do. She runs the house. She runs the studio. She's the top dog. She's 12 years old. She does what she wants. She came up here, I guess. These guys running these trucking companies, again, same thing. They're trying to turn a profit. They're dealing with regulations, and there should be regulations in trucking. They're dealing with the issue that we have. What was it? How many men are not in the workforce? American men. They're not in the workforce and not looking. Was it 1 in 4, Logan, I reported last week? 1 in 4, if my memory serves me well. 1 in 4 American men are not in the workforce and they're not looking. If you owned a company or a business that was dependent upon labor, would you not be looking for 1 in 3? Would you not be looking for an alternative? And when workers comp and people suing you for stupid things and silly things and all the cost and all the insurance, which again is due to the inflation, again, don't blame it on the business owner. blame it on the government inflating away the currency, stealing the majority of the people's wealth that one man in a million won't notice, said John Maynard Keynes, the Keynesian economist, the Fabian socialist. See, most people look at this and they think, oh, those greedy business owners, they're greedy, they're the Scrooge, counting their coins. No, a lot of this is not about greed. A lot of this is about survival. Now, some of the big multinational corporations and whatnot, that they're going to survive. They're raking in tons of money. But a lot of these companies, folks, they're middle class or maybe a little bit above middle class, and they're trying to build multi-generational wealth for their family. And that's their right to do. And with all the regulations and the inflating away of the currency, they have to find somewhere to cut in order to stay afloat. We're using AI for about the jobs of what, 5-6 people, Logan? And nobody lost their job because of that. We just are getting more done because we couldn't afford to hire those people. So instead of, it wasn't, oh yeah, 5 of you, bye-bye. No, what it was is we just added to our ability to put out more information because we got AI automating some stuff for us that we would have to sit and do every day, but the computer system's doing it for us. So again, I'm not against the automation at all. I understand it, but I don't think the average American understands it. Now look at this. Here's a perfect example. This is American consumers are now facing 7% plus mortgage rates, 4.2% inflation, and a 30% loss in the purchasing power of the US dollar since 2020. Yeah, 30% less purchasing power. And now you understand why businesses, and particularly small, medium-sized businesses, are trying to find a way to cut costs and survive. All right, let's see what else we got. Came across some old video footage because we go to Annie. We got our archives. We're racking up the archives with lots of footage. Came across something the other day. You want to roll it, Logan? This was where I was doing a little piece for Dr. D. James Kennedy out of Coral Ridge Presbyterian Church in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, Truths That Transforms. And we took it and I said, hey, Logan, splice in that video we found of Governor Roy Romer talking that we found. So that part we spliced into this, but here's a little portion. I'm much younger myself and maybe a little heavier set. My wife is quite the cook and I was enjoying being married and I still do. I just have learned to push back and not eat so much, maybe one meal a day, a lot of times today versus then. So anyway, a little heavier set, younger guy, but definitely. What year was this? We figured out about 1998. Oh, brother. That's great. Yeah, here we go.
A recent study has shown that if you place your child in a public school system in kindergarten and let them go through the public school system for all 12 years, 70% of those children will never accept Christ or will deny Christ before they graduate.
Brannon Howse is the president of the American Family Policy Institute and co-founder of the Exodus Project, a national organization calling parents to consider exiting public schools.
The system has gotten increasingly hostile toward Christianity and a Christian worldview. Students are being told they can't bring Bibles to school. They're being told they cannot write papers that deal with religion or their biblical Christian worldview. We have the promotion of evolution. The creationist worldview is not permitted in most of the schools of America today. And even abstinence has been defined by some courts in Louisiana as being the promotion of religion, and therefore we can't even teach abstinence. So you look at many of these things and you have to say that the secular humanists have made great strides.
Jay Tennyson was a participant in Oregon's Certificate of Mastery pilot program.
They have a doctor come by to teach the 12th grade health students all about sex, how to have it, what it is, about using condoms. He brings sexually correct instruments, things like dildos, and shows them and flings them around the classroom as if they're little baby toys or something. And he has students apply condoms to them in class.
As more and more states adopt the Certificate of Mastery program, parents can expect values-laden courses like these. And what happens to students who don't comply?
Governor Roy Romer, who was serving as the chairman of the National Goals 2000 panel, was asked by an ABC reporter, how are you guys going to enforce your national standards? And he said, I believe if you're to get businesses in America to agree that they would not hire anybody unless they see a high school graduate certificate, referring to the Certificate of Mastery, the new outcome-based education diploma. Then I believe this country will come to the realization that there is no job for them, there is no life for them.
I believe that if you were to get all employers in this country saying that we will not hire anybody unless we see a high school graduate certificate that has on it the results of this potential employee's record, there are steps that each of us can take. But to be frank about it, I don't think you're going to get the awareness of the American people on this until we measure more accurately and measure each student. I just broke my leg. I'm not going to tell you how I did it. It's a little embarrassing. But when I went to the doctor each 2 weeks, I wanted to know, was my leg healing? And I had an x-ray. And he and I looked at that. If that leg was not healing, I would have changed my whole lifestyle because I knew how important it was to get a good leg back. You see, there are too many people in America who have got a fourth grader in math, and they don't know that their educational leg is broke. And if it is broke, they don't have any way to measure whether there's real progress being made. And I don't think we're ever going to get it done until we get accurate, authentic assessment of each youngster available to the parents of that youngster, to the youngster and the youngster's teacher. Then I think this nation will come to the realization of there's no job for them, there's no life for them unless we cure it.
Students who embrace a Christian worldview and acknowledge that they are a Christian and don't agree with evolution, secular humanism, and all its tenets will be punished.
We spliced in that Governor Roy Romer clip after we found that. To that, other than that, rest of that's from D. James Kennedy. One more, I think that. By the way, Logan, that was in our first townhome that your mother and I bought. We signed on that in 1995. Put down $500. I still have the receipt. Put down a $500 deposit. Earnest money of $500. It was $120,000. One-level townhome, brand new. Pulte Homes. It was a Pulte home, one-level townhome. Mr. Pulte's in the administration. I guess his dad or grandfather started the company, but Mr. Pulte, I think his Bill is his first name. He's in the Trump administration. That was a Pulte home. You got to pick out the flooring, the cabinets. You got to pick out the color of the carpet, a few things, not much. But we thought it was amazing. We'd waited 5 years, got married, waited 5 years, saved our money. And our goal was to be debt-free and pay that thing off in 3 years. And boy, howdy, we hustled. And I spoke all over the country and wrote books. And we saved and drove used cars and did everything we could. And praise the Lord, we did. We paid it off in 3 years. But we hustled and did without a lot. Didn't do a lot of stuff other than business trips, which thankfully we had that. We would travel because of business. But anyway, that was our first townhome, Logan. Then that Truth That Transforms, Kennedy's group came to our home here in town. What year was that, Logan? Like 2008, 2009? And you know what? We figured it out. It was 2010. It was 2010. 2010. We figured it out. You want to play that? Then we'll go to Annie. Here, watch this. 2010. A little bit heavier. A little bit heavier, Brannon Howse, here on this one. What's that, Logan? 1 second. All right. We found this one the other day. We even had to try to call Coral Ridge, see if they had it. And they were going to have to get back to us. And somehow Logan found it. So anyway, we're trying to collect everything that I've done that we can ever find. You know what's really weird is I went and I did an interview with a lady named Mary. Can't remember her last name. She interviewed me for an hour in 1995, sitting at a desk, a news desk in 1995. I don't remember it. I do not have any memory of that interview. She interviewed me for almost an hour. I have zero memory of it. All I remember is that I was interviewed by a family net. It was a family net group. I don't know if that was in Florida or I don't know if that was in Houston. I do not remember going there. I do not remember the interview. I do remember that I did do an interview with Family Net, but that's because I would have been booked up and my gal Joyce would have helped me do that at the time, Joyce Hart. But I don't remember it. So my guess is that was one of those trips where, because I hate to fly, I took my medication to get on a plane, flew down there, did the interview, and flew back. And I don't remember it at all. Because when I saw it, when we found it on a VHS tape, I'm like, I don't even remember that. If someone had put me under oath and asked me, I would say, I don't have a clue what you're talking about. But there it was. So we'll have to play that one night from 1995. But you found the one from D. James Kennedy 2010. All right, here's the fat Brannon Howse. Here we go.
Whatever it takes to win.
President Barack Hussein Obama studied Saul Alinsky and taught him for several years at the Saul Alinsky Institute.
Author Brannon Howse, who organizes Worldview Weekend conferences, often speaks on the influence of Saul Alinsky.
That phrase changed.
Author Brannon, who weekends speak fluent all
that.
What's going on there, Logan?
Need change, real change.
It's not like that's just a file being brought in. All right, is that are they hearing you or just me? Well, why not? Why not you? I mean, why not?
You repeated what I said?
I
now
know
they
that.
can hear me.
All right, I get tired of repeating what you said.
The
All
file
right, so you
messed
screwed up,
again.
basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it can be fixed here in the next 5 seconds, or we can move on.
Yeah, I'll fix it. We want to see the whole thing.
The whole thing's 6 minutes.
Oh, I don't
Here we
want to
go.
see the whole thing.
Here it is. Here's some of it.
Well, just a little bit.
This country and change the world. We need change, real change. Change has not come fast enough.
That's found on almost every page of Rules for Radicals. The word community organizer comes from Saul Alinsky's book. And by change, Saul Alinsky means a revolution. Saul Alinsky said we need to have a socialist, communist revolution. We need to do away with private property, free enterprise, free market, capitalism. And he says, but we do it over time, and we do it by penetrating every institution and changing their worldview. We pit the haves against the have-nots. We get the class envy going. We also stir up, very sadly what they've done today, racial disharmony.
Alinsky's influence even helped to create ACORN, the nation's largest urban activist organization. Successful lawsuits against ACORN have found it guilty of subverting the electoral process.
The organization ACORN was born out of the Saul Alinsky model, which today ACORN, is making national news for being involved in all kinds of things, from voter fraud to welfare fraud to all kinds of things. But there are many organizations like ACORN, and they're getting federal money, these organizations. Much of the stimulus money has been used for a personal slush fund, in my opinion, to use for these community organizing organizations.
While
All right, we
many
can hold it
people
there.
want to resolve conflict,
That's Bob Allen, the voice of Bob Allen. He's got a great voice, announcing voice. I still wear that suit coat, Logan. I think I wore it yesterday or the day before, that brown one. Charcoal brown. I still have it. I still have that tie. That's one of the beautiful
things. Back then.
Huh?
Surprised it fit you back then.
You're surprised it fit me back then?
You said it was the bigger version of you.
Yeah, I know. You're being smart out now, aren't you? Well, it actually does fit me back then. It's maybe a little bigger on me actually now, but anyway, I wear it anyway. That's one of the benefits, Logan, of trying to keep your weight the same is you just keep collecting sport coats, and pretty soon by the time you're 50, am I 56 or 57? Or 58?
You would be 57.
Okay. By the time you're 57, you have collected a lot of sport coats if you keep them. So there you go. I still wear that same tie from 2010. That's a long time ago. You know that tie that I wore in the first one from 1998? I would still be wearing that tie, but guess what happened to it? The airline lost it. The airline lost some of my favorite suits and ties. Another reason I don't fly. Airlines are a joke. Sorry if you work for the airline. I know some of you are pilots, but airlines are a joke. I got tired of being treated like cattle, so we bought a motor coach and traveled by motor coach, and my clothes were hanging in the closet. Everything went with us, the family, everything was wonderful. It was a great way to travel. Flying is so like riding a Greyhound bus. It's like riding a Greyhound bus. No, thank you. Right. In my opinion, flying commercial is like eating a meal at a gas station. Just something I'm not interested in doing. All right. Anywho, that's it. That's all I got. Let's go to, whoa, I haven't even promoted anything. worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Worldviewtube.com/sponsors. You know, great products, gold, the Gatatana. We talked about that last night. I take that every day. Have it with my dinner. Dolly gets a half a scoop on her food. Boost your, by the way, your immune system, feeding you down to the mitochondria. MelissaProtein.com. Melissa takes these every day to boost her muscle mass because you can lose about 30% of your muscle mass. Didn't we figure the other day, Logan? Between 50 and 70, she doesn't want to lose her muscle mass. She wants to stay fit and trim and in good shape and have a strong core. So again, she takes those every day. MelissaProtein.com. The water filter, those we sell a lot of those because who wants to drink water that was in someone's toilet at one time and now they've cleaned it, they say, and you're drinking it. Yummy. So there you go. Plus, you got all kinds of other chemicals in the water that you do not want. Worldview Healthcare to get your antibiotics and have them on hand. Worldview Talk, satellite phones, solar generators, bulletproof backpacks, and then EMF, knocking down EMF with blankets, the silver pillowcases, and so much more. Swish for Life, that's your glutathione to detox your cells. Some studies show glutathione may reduce mercury and lead from your brain, helping prevent Alzheimer's, dementia, and Parkinson's. Bella Grace, I do it each and every day. Here's one right here, Bella Grace. You know what? I think I have more hair now than I did in that 2010 footage, Logan. Did you notice that? You didn't notice? Well, I did. I definitely think I have more hair now in 2026 than I did in 2010. And I think I know what it is because this is where my hair started growing back was from Bella Grace. So, and a lot of you take it, you get a subscription, and you will not stop, you say, because you're getting results. And I feel the same way. So there you go, MelissaHouseBG.com or worldviewtube.com/sponsors. There you go. All right, joining me now is Anni Cyrus. Hello, Annie. Hello, Annie.
How you doing?
I'm good, good, good. You see the fat me from 2010?
I did not see a fat you, but I did see you. Yes.
I was more of a husky. That's a nice way to say it. More of a husky Brannon.
There you go. That I can go with.
Have you ever heard that slogan? Someone says he's kind of husky. Logan?
Yeah, I have.
You have heard that? All right. Well, my grandmother on my father's side was in a nursing home here in Tennessee, and I went to see her when I looked about like that, you know? I went to see her, and she had Alzheimer's, but she would, have her good days and bad days. And I was sitting in a chair next to her, leaning in, talking to her, and she slaps me on the face. She slaps me on the face and says, "Boy, you're getting chunky." I was like, okay, I'm going on a diet. She had enough of her mind to know the grandson's getting a little chunky, but yeah. So anyway, I've just learned to push back and cut out as many calories as I can. Anyway, there you go. A little fun down memory lane if you saw all that. Annie, we have word. Oh, good. Is everyone hearing that or just me? Why do you do that? The whole audience can hear. Okay. All right. Let's bookmark. You got stuff bookmarked for me. Let's go to Pete Hegseth, the Secretary of War. Apparently, Peter is out tonight telling us it's going to be bad. Here we go.
Those strikes that'll happen tonight will be strong. They will be clear. If they happen to happen tomorrow night, they will be strong and they will be clear. And throughout, Iran has an opportunity to make a deal. That's the point. President Trump is a deal maker, the best in the world. He's prepared to make that deal. Iran would be wise to take it. Otherwise, they would have to deal with the types of plans that I just had a chance to see inside Central Command.
All right, whatever. All right, so the strikes are underway. I don't think it's going to be
It might be tonight. It might be tomorrow night. We don't know.
And where are they striking? We've already heard some of the places, and I had to call you up and say, where is that? I mean, what is that? Where they're talking about striking. Or but I guess by now, as we're on the air here, they probably are already striking.
Yes. So I have got some confirmation from people on the ground who heard explosions, not a specific location or infrastructure, but there has been reports of people hearing explosions. And here's where it's interesting. They're supposed to be clear and precise. But so far, part of it has been concentrated on the areas close to the Strait of Hormuz. For example, in province of Hormuzgan, which is Minab, that has been reported. Bandar Abbas has been reported. But then we jump to Shiraz province, and then we jump to Tehran province. I can track the Minab one somewhat because, well, as we all know, the story of the day one, accidentally by mistake, we hit the girls' school instead of the actual IRGC headquarters. So Minab has some of the more concentrated military facilities of IRGC. I can absolutely understand the one in Oslovo, which is the natural gas and petrochemical infrastructure. I am completely lost as to why they heard explosions in Shiraz. Absolutely lost. And for Tehran, again, there are explosions heard, but none of them near a specific IRGC facility or headquarter or building or missile warehouse. I don't know. Those two, not clear to me. I'm sure it is clear to Hexet. Another thing, I don't have confirmation as of right now from our side, being U.S. side, but Iran media has reported that there has been a direct clash between Iran military and U.S. military at the in the sea, basically, in the water. So again, I only have one side. Our side hasn't said anything about it. But that's what I have as of right now.
Okay. So,
but can I go back to, because I like to do this, back to if people paid attention to the way Hexet is talking, you don't hear we're coming to finish this. This is hey, here's another bargaining chip, make a deal, or series of really serious strikes are coming. Mm-hmm. So I just want to be very clear, because in my own reporting, I kind of added a line of, different city, same book, same story. Mm-hmm. It's because you're not hearing a final line of, this is it, we're done negotiating, we're finishing you. Mm-hmm. This is, again, a bargaining chip. Mm-hmm. The repeat that we talked about before. We're going to attack, get them to negotiation table. They prove to us they're not going to negotiate, and then we're forced to attack them again to bring up another scenario of negotiation.
Yeah. Well,
let's not lose sight of that.
And I think this is going to be, as I've been predicting, I think you too, this is going to continue. They're never going to sign a deal. If they do, they will break it. I don't see this being fixed. And I could be 100% wrong, but I don't see this being fixed permanently. They may get a little deal for a little time, but I don't see anything permanent, long lasting until the Antichrist shows up. That's just what I think.
Well, that's definitely, absolutely the truth. But even temporary situation, again, contradictions are bothering me at this point, Brannon. The reports from our side, including apparently what Trump himself said, we're going to destroy all of their capability. Mm-hmm. I thought we did that 2 months ago, didn't we?
Well,
like their Navy was sitting at the bottom of the sea, and they ran out of missiles and they ran out of launchers. Are you telling me that in 2 months they rebuilt all of it, that now we need to repeat what we repeated 3 months ago? And if we knew in 2 months they're going to regain that capability, why did we stop 2 months? Just legit questions from someone who's not involved with military. I'd like to know the answer to all of those questions. Mm-hmm. Why did we back down for 2 months?
Let's move over to President Trump before we get into what's going on in Ireland tonight. Around the globe, really. Let's move on to what Trump said about the president of Turkey today, Erdogan. Listen to this.
Thank you, President. I have two questions. First of all, Turkish President Erdogan keeps threatening Israel. Do you think there's a chance of a conflict between Israel and Turkey, and will you sell F-35 to
Well, as you know, he's a very good friend of mine. Mm-hmm. And we've worked very well together. I like him a lot. I'm not supposed to say that because the press will say, oh, he likes Erdogan. No, he's a hell of a leader and a strong person, very strong person. I haven't heard that at all. If I did, I'd call him, and I think I'd make sure that things were fine. I don't think that will happen with Turkey. Not as long as I'm president, because he respects me and I respect him. But beyond that, we have a good friendship. So, we'll see.
All right, and I think that was in relation to Erdogan saying that Turkey is going to take Jerusalem. And of course, he said he didn't know about that. But if he heard it, he might have to call him and see what's going on. It's not going to happen as long as I'm president, and maybe it won't. But eventually, they're going to try it. because Ezekiel 38:39 talks about a coalition that moves down on top of them, and Turkey's mentioned like 3 times, various names used that are parts of and are Turkey. So Turkey's definitely a part of that at some point in the future. But why are we praising this guy? Why would you call him your good friend? I know he's a politician, he has to, but he is not a good person. He apparently killed a lot of people there in Turkey. A lot of people in the military went from a secular government to a Islamic theocratic government a few years ago. He's not a good man at all.
He's not a good man. No, I agree. And it's interesting when Trump says, I'm not supposed to say that because press is going to say, why do you say that? He addresses the concern with the press, not the real concern behind what the press ask. Yes, you don't call a murderer a good leader unless you agree with his methods. Because greatness comes with aligned mindset. Unless he agrees with his methods, that I don't see the reason of saying great leader or being a great friend. Like, what is that friendship? Are you getting advice? Is this why we're in this mess? Because you're getting advice from your great friends in Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey? Because it could possibly be. But again, a president, I don't think he's saying these things because he's a president and he must say it. I think he say all of this because, well, he's a businessman. And salesmen tend to always, praise you until they sell you what they're trying to sell you.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, let's switch to another topic. This is a little graphic, folks. Heads up, little graphic. This is the gentleman in Belfast, Ireland, who we've seen the video of being held down, and the guy was trying to behead him. I have the video footage somewhere. You guys have seen it probably by now. But it's very disturbing. There are reports out, Annie, that this gentleman was trying to help this guy. He was his neighbor, and he was trying to help the, quote, immigrant, and that's how he got repaid. Again, it's fluid, where some say he is from Sudan, the guy is. And, the video footage of him holding the guy down on the street, thankfully some folks came along and got the guy off of him, but he's not in good shape. He's fighting for his life in the hospital. And now tonight we see that Ireland is on fire. Let me see, I got some video footage of that from earlier this afternoon. Look at this, here we go. They're bringing out the water cannons. They're getting rocks chucked at them. And I don't know which side that is. They're all dressed in black. So it's hard to know who's taking advantage of this now. Is this, again, where the people are frustrated, but now the Antifa types are going to get involved and stir up the chaos and everything else, which will then be used to shut down more liberties and freedoms. So, a lot of people like myself, if I lived there, would be very unhappy with that, what's going on. But I wouldn't be taking part in that. But just because I'm unhappy with it, it's now going to be used by the chaos plan to do that kind of thing, which then brings in more government cracking down. So we have to be careful to realize just because people are opposed to this doesn't mean they're the ones in the street. Here's another clip from another angle. And at some point, those water cannons were being used. Do you agree with me, Annie, that we have to be careful to remember that some of these people that are doing the burning and looting and rioting, they're not the average person who's upset with what's happening in their country. They're upset, but they're not going out in the street doing that. They may be out protesting, but they're not engaging like that. We have to be aware of the fact that now come in the agitators to do these things, and then thus to paint all of the people in Ireland as some kind of dangerous nationalist, right?
Yes, you're correct. And that's why I personally constantly emphasize that we should take action before we're forced to have to pick violence. This is one of them. You're right. Probably majority of the people there are just trying to protest or get answers. But then there are those who might even not necessarily be Antifa type, but be a little, maybe they're fed up. They're a little more aggressive. However, unfortunately, when you let it get this far, I don't really know what options people of UK or Ireland have right now. What is their other option? To peacefully take their country back? Their entire government is infiltrated. Their neighborhoods are infiltrated. And yes, I pray for the man who's fighting for his life. But again, another warning I've been giving over and over and over is stop looking at your nice pork eating, beer drinking Muslim neighbor. You need to realize it just takes one. It literally takes one for these kind of videos, these kind of sceneries, these kind of events to take place in your neighborhood. Doesn't matter how safe your neighborhood is today, it is safe until it's not safe. And either we like it or not, either whatever we're labeled. This is what Islam dictates. What this man is attempting to do is not somebody was offended by something. It's dictated to them. If you want to be a good Muslim, you want to go find your way to Allah's heaven, you're going to have to commit jihad one way or another. And this guy decided to do this. And he's not the first one, and he won't be the last one.
And I don't know
before America turns into this.
And I don't know what the gun laws are in Ireland. But were those the cops finally showing up? I don't know what the gun laws are in Ireland, but in America by now, certain parts of America, there they are finally. And I don't even know if those cops have guns. Maybe they're like the bobbies running around with a nightstick and a whistle. Little morons. But in America, most people that saw that were armed would have finished that guy off. And would have had every God-given right to do so. As I dealt with in my commentary tonight, this is not a turn the cheek moment here, folks, of personal insult. That's not what Jesus was talking about there. So people that email that and say, oh, we're to turn the other cheek. That's about a personal insult and not taking advantage or picking up a petty offense and becoming petty yourself. That's not what we're talking about here. This is about an issue of life and death, and you have the biblical right to defend innocent life, yours and that of others, as I dealt with tonight in my commentary. So anyway, this is breaking out. Now, as I saw earlier today, some more videos I want to play for you, Annie, to respond to. I can find them real quick. Here we go. This is security footage captured. An elderly woman enters a diner in San Sebastian, Spain, and is sucker punched by a North African migrant. They said it does not appear to be a single exchange between the two before the attack. Okay, let me go back a little bit on this one. Here we go. Look at this. Watch this. Bam. And folks, we have seen this again and again and again. People walking down the street, someone coming the other direction, just cold cocks a guy or a lady for no reason. They don't even know the person. Wasn't too long ago, didn't we hear about a couple people being murdered in Florida, Logan? They were renting a house, and the three of them got murdered, and they didn't even know the person that murdered them, right? Here's another one. This is in France. This is an illegal immigrant also from North Africa. Takes this older lady who's trying to go to mass, puts her in a headlock. Here we go. What is it about all of them coming from parts of Africa? There's a common denominator, okay? It's Islam and it's communism. Islam and communism. Now she stops to read the billboard to see what's going on at her church. Now watch this. It's hard to watch. Oh, look at that. And you even believe, there you go. Again, gosh. And, again, this kind of thing is coming to America. It's already here, and it's growing in America. And this is why we keep telling people, you should be really careful about going out by yourself if you're a lady. You should be very careful about going out with yourself, by yourself, if you're a person of any age, just a female. Because this kind of thing is increasing not only globally, but here in America. Now, here are two brothers, Annie, from Tunisia. This is in Italy, okay? And now they're going to attack them with an axe. Tunisia. This immigration's wonderful, isn't it? Immigration, diversity, multiculturalism. Yeah.
That's the biggest problem, actually, the last part. Again, I still cook my Persian dish and I still listen to my Persian music, but culturally I have adapted to all America.
Mm-hmm.
Multiculturalism should not apply when it comes to your day-to-day life. No. I know a lot of my American friends love the fact that they can go to a Persian restaurant, but at the same time, most of those Persians learn the language, which I didn't know, but recent research, I realized apparently Persians are the highest percentage of Middle Eastern immigrants in America who do learn English. That's good to know. But yes, we try to learn the language, learn the culture, adapt the culture, and apply the culture. Multiculturalism is actually one of the biggest problems we face.
100%. All right, here's a white guy, and he's attacked by someone also from Africa out with his family. Stabbed him in the neck. Look at that. Can you imagine? Oh, boy. You know how quick you can bleed out? There he is with his baby and his dog. He's out there walking his dog with his child in a stroller. There he collapsed.
Yeah, I think he was in shock when he started rolling the stroller.
Yep.
He was still in shock.
African. There's so many are from Africa. I don't know what. Can somebody look up what are their percentage? What's the percentage of Islam in African nations?
45%.
45%.
The continent of Africa is 45% Islam.
And if it's not an Islamist, they're usually a communist. Now, this is in England. A man smashing cars with a machete in England. Look at this. Here we go. Here we go.
That sounds clever. Mm-hmm.
There you go. Now, why don't they have a gun? Because it's England and they've stripped them of their rights for a gun.
Yeah, they can have a gun.
Even
England.
the little feminized bobbies run around, as I said, with their whistles and little sticks. And this kind of America is hate.
Well, let me ask you this, Brannon. When we say England, like if this happens in California, what's going to happen? They don't have guns either.
Or Chicago. Or DC.
Exactly.
Or DC. Yeah.
Yeah, there are states in America that's worse than that. If people are attacked, when I was preparing to go to LA, I had to look up all the new laws, and I wasn't even allowed to carry a pepper spray with me in Los Angeles. Not even a pepper spray. I was on my own if anything happened.
And then the case came down yesterday with the conviction of the young black man that stabbed a young white kid, and people are coming unglued that he got 35 years. Here we go.
What do you want us to do? That's right. What do you want us to do at this point? What? I'm lost for it. I don't know what to do. I got 5 boys. I don't know what. I ain't got nothing to tell them no more. You can't walk away no more.
Rest in peace, Trayvon Martin.
Let me ask you this right now.
You can't walk away. And she uses
no more.
No more. But of course, the young man was stabbed with a pocket knife and killed. And so again, what do you do? I don't know what to tell my boys. How about behave yourself, follow the laws, treat all people with dignity and respect, and don't be a bully or a gangbanger.
Or walk away. Or walk away.
Or yeah. Why did she say you can't walk away anymore? Why would she say that?
I don't know.
I guess what she's exactly meaning is we don't get a free pass playing our race card anymore. That's what she's trying to say in those little words. And yeah, that's the thing. It's, tell your boys, doesn't matter how many sons you have or daughters for that matter. This doesn't apply to sons only. Raise your kids right. Stop telling your kids that today their future is jeopardized because decades ago their ancestors were slaves in America. Those laws don't exist in America today. So stop raising your kids in past generations. Start raising them today. Show them the opportunities they can have today. Oh, how about this? Tell your kids that Hussein Obama was a black president in America. Is that a good start?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of telling them you're going to be a loser, you're going to be a gangsters, you're going to be in prison for the rest of your life because you're black, tell them, hey, you could be the president because you're black. How about that?
Mm-hmm. And that's what we talked about on radio today, was that why are so many, and I don't like making things about race, but why are so many black young people and adults out on the streets, up in people's face, creating these issues, going after white people? And I'll tell you why. Because we had a black president by the name of Barack Hussein Obama who's telling everybody what a racist, horrible country America is, running around the country, around the world, I should say, apologizing for America, talking about how it's just a racist culture. Michelle Obama was doing the same thing. If you listen to some of her interviews, it's in our educational system. The founding fathers, they will tell you, are a bunch of racists. In fact, we even have a DOJ report from a few years ago in one of my documentaries. The DOJ was saying the America's founding fathers were basically a bunch of terrorists. So if you spend 20 years telling young people that America is evil, racist, you've been cheated, you don't have an opportunity, you have no chance, everything is rigged against you, your white neighbors, the white citizens, they have an automatic advantage called white privilege. They don't have to try. They start out ahead in the race because of their skin color, and they use the system and they weaponize the system of white culture against you. Now, if you spent 20 years hearing this garbage, what do you think you're going to create? And now we're reaping the consequences of telling this to young people for 20 years. And many of them believe it because it empowers them to feel justified in their thuggery, their laziness, their theft. They like it because they can use it to justify not working hard, not trying, not getting an education, not behaving yourself. You know, and by the way, this goes on to with people, white people as well. This goes on with the immigrants, some of them coming over here, whether they're lighter in pigmentation or not. It goes on with the sexual minorities in America. It goes on with the, quote, poor in America. It goes on with the feminists in America, because that's what the Frankfurt School said they were going to do. They were going to create a coalition of victims and then tell them the source of all suffering and oppression is Christianity and capitalism. And you'll wonder why the hatred of Christianity is so strong, even among cops, even among judges, even among elected officials. We see so many of these people have been educated in our schools, and now they are the cops. And I'm not blaming all cops. I'm not blaming all judges. I'm not blaming all elected officials. But you see this cultural Marxist ideology today in the power centers that we didn't see in the 70s and 80s. But now you have these people that have been brainwashed, including white people who are, and others who have been brainwashed to believe this claptrap. And now they're in power and in very important jobs. Annie?
I agree with all of that. That's why I agree. I don't like to make things about race either, especially because I'm in a very bad spot when it comes to black versus white. I'm right in the middle. But the issue is I constantly use myself as an example that, you know, I could have chosen to stay a victim, cash in on the victim card, the race card, the sex card, all of it. But I didn't. So anyone else from any race, any background, whatever is your case, in my eyes, you have a choice. And if you choose wrong, you don't get to be upset when you face consequences, either legal or not. The consequences of your choices are yours. At some point, Brannon, I have said this and it has offended some people, but I've said that when I came to America, I was 18 years old. And within a year or two, I was fully considered an adult, 20 years old. Every human being gets to that point. Like if you made it to your 20, 21, from there on, all of your broken family, divorced parents, bad dad, drunk mother, all of those excuses fade away from there on. Because now you're an adult with your own brain to make your own decisions. So from there on, whatever consequences you face for your decisions don't belong to your past anymore. Mm-hmm. Let alone past generations of all And I actually, while you were talking, I did a very surface-based search. And again, the myth, if they're really desperate to make this all about race, it's interesting. I just apparently roughly about 14% of American population are the black people. But then 2% of American billionaires are black people.
Exactly.
That doesn't look too bad, does it now?
No.
For the percentage of population versus billionaires, that's a pretty good achievement, actually. Why are we still crying victimhood?
And you and I know why, because this is the communist mantra to divide the country and go after the free market people and the Christians. And that's
yes, and
Oprah.
But Brannon,
came out of
the
Mississippi.
bigger
Oprah, poor young black lady out of Mississippi, makes herself, I think, a billionaire, multimillionaire
Yes.
for sure. The owner of Black Entertainment Television, if I remember correctly, also born in Mississippi, very smart businessman, made himself, I think he also, look that up, fact check me, but I think the founder of Black Entertainment TV turned into a billionaire. Didn't he, Logan? No, fact check that. And we can go on and on about the black businessmen in America. So they did it.
Yes. I mean, another name I normally hear in debates is Michael Jordan.
Yep.
He's worth $500 million, it says.
$500 million, the founder of Black Entertainment TV?
Yeah. Tyler Perry's worth $1.4 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Again, and I wanted to say this because I actually very recently used you and Logan as an example in the exact same debate. But my debate was, yes, there is communists, there is Islamists, there is globalists. All of them exist, no doubt about it. But the number one failure comes home. Parents.
Mm-hmm.
That mother on that video, she's the failure.
Mm-hmm.
And the discussion, by the way, it was, younger kids because of a school indoctrination. What I said, well, how about Logan? He was raised in a home where parents didn't give in to the indoctrination and the new fashion, and let's be buddies instead of raising you right. And that applies to every parent.
Yep.
When parents allow the infiltration and brainwash, the result is what we're looking at today. So we got to hold them as much accountable as the system behind this collapse.
Amen to that. All right, Annie, I'm getting word now that the Strait of Hormuz is completely closed for any vessels, says Iran, due to the criminal American aggression on Iran. That is apparently according to the IRGC. Can you verify that in Farsi?
Yes, give me a second. Yes, actually, Khatam al-Anbiya headquarters announced it. The number one, the highest ranking chapter of IRGC confirmed it. It is going to be permanently closed to all vessels until the United States of America removes all military from the area. This isn't even about a ceasefire anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It needs to be completely removed.
Yeah, this is going to go on for a while. All right.
Couple of days.
But I mean, I'm saying this conflict. I don't see a deal coming. Do you?
Oh yeah, no. If you remember, I said let's get into late spring, early summer of 2027. That has been my prediction from March.
All right. liveuptofreedom.substack.com. Here's her new book, The Architecture of Jihad. liveuptofreedom.com and liveuptofreedom.substack.com. You can get a copy of her book, The Architecture of Jihad. As always, Annie, thanks for being here.
Absolutely. Can I add one last line before I hop off, just in case if I'm not here tomorrow?
Yeah.
I have a feeling I will join you tomorrow. But everybody heads up. Tomorrow, World Cup kickoff in Mexico, and then Friday in Los Angeles, California. In U.S., the first game will take place. Lots of interesting AI and policing is going on at the stadium. But that aside, just be ready. It's happening.
People are making issue tonight with the fact that Iran has decided to put some of their fighter jets in the air. I don't know. That's absolutely going viral tonight. All the video footage of it's like one jet flying around. but it's going viral. I don't know why people are, it's weird the stuff people will put out and just go on and on and on about, but that's everywhere. Before you go, Annie, Dolly has filed a new report. You know, Dolly's filing regular reports here, right?
I did not know that.
Oh, you didn't know that? This is her second report, I think, right, Logan? Or a third report? Okay. Here's the latest report filed by Dolly today. You ready, guys? Here we go.
Hello, this is Dolly, the Worldview Tube Studio dog. I'm here to bring some good looks to the screen and to tell a few good jokes. Here we go. What do you call a dog that can't bark? A hush puppy. Now that is my kind of dog. Quiet, polite, and probably delicious. I mean, lovely. What could be more incredible than a talking dog? A spelling bee. And I mean it. I'm out here talking on live TV and nobody blinks. But a bee that can spell? Now we're really impressed. Which dog breed loves living in the Big Apple? A New Yorkie. They're small, they're loud, and they've got opinions. I respect that. And last one. Why didn't the dog want to play football? Because it was a boxer. Get it? A boxer. I'll give you a second. There you go. I knew you'd come around. That's all from me. This has been Dolly, 4 paws, perfect hair, and the best jokes in the building. Back to you, Brannon.
Yeah, back to me. Why am I looking so angry?
Because she just stole the spotlight.
Show. And why did that shoe hit her in the head? I would not allow that to happen.
That's what I was wondering.
Why did that happen? But anyway, she's kind of worn out. Let's go to an updated shot of Dolly. She's a little worn out after filing her report. She spends a lot of time writing the script, practicing delivery. Why was there...
so adorable.
Yeah, isn't she adorable? Why was there steam coming off of the desk from her breath? Is she also part dragon?
I don't know.
No, she was just clearing her throat, getting ready for the report.
I guess so. Well, you know what? You know why there was steam coming off, Logan? You know why?
Why?
Because it's so cold in the studio.
Yeah, exactly.
That was her breath. It's so cold in the studio. We keep it cold in here because the old man in a 3-piece suit starts sweating. And then on top of that, we got to keep all these servers cool so they don't overheat and blow up and destroy. So that's why it's so cold in the studio. Her breath was showing. She's really taken to keeping her back to the camera lately. I think she started that since we brought the Dolly cam back in. I think she knows. She's like, I don't want to be caught looking awkward, so I'll just keep my back to that camera. Yeah, she's not moving, Logan. Logan's in there clapping his hands. She's out. But anyway, that's
exhausted.
She is. She's a busy day. She was filing up. She heard the door open.
There she goes.
The control room door opened. She was busy writing those. You did a good job. Your delivery is very good. I like your jokes. They're very funny. So that's the first one. All right. There you go. Oh, she's going to stretch. Now she'll probably wander into the control room, say hello to the boys now that she's awake.
She might have figured something to tell him to fix for the next episode.
Exactly right. Oops, got an itch.
You go tell him.
There you go. Dolly, with her latest report. Is that her bear right next to her? Yep, she got her bear on the ground there. Yep, there you go. All right. Sitting on our logo. Sitting on the Worldview logo. Annie,
she owns it.
She does own it. She absolutely does. We all work for her. Thanks for being here, Annie.
Absolutely. Be safe, Brannon.
You too. Anni Cyrus checking in, liveuptofreedom.com, liveuptofreedom.substack.com. All right. I pre-recorded an interview this afternoon with Matt Staver. We'll get to that. And then Michael Weiner talking about President Trump saying, I don't have a problem with inflation. I like it. I don't think that's what we want to hear. That's not what he was telling us when he ran. He was telling us he was going to bring inflation down. I don't know why he would say that. I think the right response is, yeah, it's tough. It's tough on the American people. It's tough on working families and the grocery bill and making ends meet. And I don't like it. I'm doing all I can to get this war over with and get fuel prices back down. He should not have defended it. It's already going to be turned into a commercial. I can promise you that by the Dems. So we'll get to all that and cryptocurrency, IPO of SpaceX and more. By the way, one more clip from Ireland. Listen to this, Logan. Listen to this one.
One last thing I'll say. Up the north, a man almost got beheaded. This is a man who suffered from disabilities himself. He already can barely see out of his eyes before this attack. He had a lack of hearing. This man also played a part in taking these people in, trying to care for them. But what did he do? They turned on him.
Okay, so that guy's saying he helped bring them in and to care for them. He had a disability. He already had an eyesight problem. And what did they do? They turned on him. Now, isn't this exactly what happened to the Jews in the kibbutz there on the border in Israel on October 7th? Many of them were giving them jobs. Folks, social justice is socialism. It doesn't work. You cannot make peace with Islam. Islam is a satanic, demonic, anti-human, anti-God, occultic, demonic, religious worldview. You cannot make peace. Oil and water don't mix.
He turned on him and tried to take his life. Only for a hero to step in and nearly take him out. The last thing I will say, a good friend of mine, John Mulhall, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, these are facts, the videos are there to prove it. A man approached him recently, a Muslim man, with a knife. He could see it in his waistband. He asked the man to show him the knife. The man wouldn't show it. He finally pulled it up. The guards got called on site. John said to the guards, if this was an Irishman, what would you do? They admitted they would arrest him. The same guard claimed to be a Catholic from this country, and he says, John, you've got to understand their culture and religion. This is Ireland! This is Ireland! Disgrace! For everyone else who's not here, congratulations to everyone that is here. But whoever's not here, it's time to stop sitting back, get out on the streets, march, and take them out!
This is Ireland. Ireland is for the Irish. He said, if this had been a man from Ireland, what would you do? We would arrest him, but we don't. We can't arrest him. He's an immigrant. He's a protected class now. It's all going according to plan. This is exactly what the globalists want. The chaos, the conflict, and then more laws and break down the culture of the countries. This is all by design, folks. That's what I'm trying to tell you. All right, take a quick break. We come back. We'll be joined by Matt Staver, an interview I pre-recorded, and then Michael Weiner. A lot of video clips yet to go. Tweet, text, email, Facebook, Getter, Truth Social. Tell everybody you know. By the way, do you appreciate what we're doing? Do you appreciate what we're doing? We need your support. WorldviewFoundation.com. WorldviewFoundation.com. You'll also find our mailing address there if you prefer to support us through the mail. Also, don't forget WorldviewTube.com/vault. WorldviewTube.com/vault. If you're a member, you get access to 36 years of radio shows, TV shows, ebooks, audiobooks. We don't have time to play tonight, but I've seen more of Brainwashed America Part 3. That should be out soon, and that will only be for Vault members. Can't afford to give it to everybody. If we raise the amount of money we should be raising, I would, but we're not, and I can't afford to give everything away. So the Vault is for Vault members who support us with a monthly membership, and that'll be out soon. If you're also a member, you're going to be able to live stream our fall conference, October 23 and 24. Again, it's free to attend. You can absolutely attend for free and be a part of the live studio audience, if you will. WorldviewTube.com/events to get your free ticket. But if you want to live stream it, you're going to have to be a member of the Vault. And we also have all these classes we've just added. Grave Influence, Revelation. Oh, look at that. Brainwashed America, they finished it already? How many? That's brand new right now. Breaking news. Brainwashed America is now a new course, part of the Vault. How many lessons is that, Logan?
19.
There's 19 in that one?
Yep.
19 lessons. That's based on the series that I did step by step on how brainwashing happens. A ton of history in there, folks. Now that's a course, and you get a certificate at the end. That's all a part of your membership, as little as $7.99 a month. So please check it out. Join. We need your support. WorldviewTube.com/vault. Look at all we keep adding to it. Amazing. WorldviewTube.com/vault. We'll be right back.
You've heard about the new wave of GLP-1 weight loss shots, but you've also heard about the side effects, the nausea, the fatigue, the risks of injecting synthetic hormones into your body. What if there were a better way, a natural way? Meet Bellamelt, the indulgent, sugar-free caramel treat that's quietly changing the way women take charge of their weight. Unlike injections that flood your body with synthetic GLP-1, Bellamelt works with your body, using potent botanicals and essential nutrients to help you naturally increase your own GLP-1, the same hormone that controls hunger, cravings, and fat burning. Activated the way nature intended. Just a delicious caramel melt 30 minutes before your meal. In a 10-week clinical study of its key ingredient, African mango, participants lost an average of 28 pounds, reduced body fat by over 18%, and trimmed nearly 7 inches off their waist. Visit melissahousebg.com today. That's melissahousebg.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Individual results may vary.
Join me now is Matt Staver of the Liberty Council, lc.org, lc.org. It's been a while since we've had him on, and there are so many cases that they're covering. And one of them, of course, I covered this week in my Worldview report. And that is this little gal that has been blocked from going to church, having Christian friends, celebrating Christian holidays. And they are the ones handling this case. And there's many others they're doing as well. You'll find more at lc.org, lc.org. He joins us to bring us an update on so many vital issues. Matt Staver. Matt, welcome back. Thanks for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Brannon. And the case that you mentioned regarding Emily Bickford and her daughter Ava is one of the most outrageous cases that I've seen. That's why we got involved. We don't typically at Liberty Council get involved in the general domestic dispute, but this one really cried out because of the religious freedom issues. This judge issued an order, and every time the judge uses the word God, it is always lowercase. Do you know what that means? Obviously, it is designed to be sarcastic. It's designed to really denigrate her faith. She's a Christian. So is Ava, the daughter, who now is 13. They believe in one God. They believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, not multiple gods. And she really insults them. But worse than that, since December of 2024, this judge in Portland, Maine, has prohibited a fit parent, the mother, Emily, from taking her daughter to any church. First of all, for no contact at all to Calvary Chapel in Portland. She has to have total disconnect to that. No contacting her friends, teachers, pastors, nothing. Can't read any literature. Can't have anything to do with them. They can't even be in the same community operation or meeting with them. So zero, cut off all ties immediately. And then no church at all, no matter what church it is. She can't take her to church. That's always been vetoed by this order. She can't go to a Christmas program. So she missed Christmas 24, Christmas 25. She missed Easter in 2025, Easter in 2026. And she can't go to any religious gathering, no summer camp, no religious activity whatsoever.
Mm. And is that case going to go to the Supreme Court?
It could. In fact, I argued this case 7 months ago. We should have a ruling, but I'm not sure why they're taking so long. This is a real emergency issue because, this started off when she was 11 years old. Now she's 13. This is a very critical time of her life. And Ava, the 13-year-old daughter, turned 13 in January of this year. She asked her mom, why can't she visit her Christian friends? If this is unconstitutional, why can't they just go to church? It is unconstitutional. So Ava is at that very critical age as a 13-year-old girl, and she can't even take her to a Christian school. That's prohibited as well. So we're waiting on the order. I'm hopeful we'll have a good order, but it's been 7 months. And if the court goes the wrong way, we'll certainly take this to the United States Supreme Court. I have no doubt if we go the Supreme Court route of the U.S., that we'll win. This is the most unbelievable order I've ever seen. That's why we got involved in it.
Well, good for you. lc.org for more information. The liberals for years have pushed for the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child.
Yeah.
As you know well, I don't have to tell you, but for the audience that maybe doesn't know, doesn't remember, or new people, this UN Convention on the Rights of the Child pushed by a lot of progressives since the early 90s or 90s, mid 90s for sure. Children should be treated as adults. And it declares that if kids want to get together with their friends, they have the right to public assembly, regardless of what the parents want. If they want to go to some meeting, they can go. But if the parents force them to go to church, no, they can't do that. They have freedom of religion, they say, to decide for themselves. So no, I'm not going to get up as a 10-year-old and go with you to church. And if the parent forces them or violates any of their liberties, they should be given the right to an attorney and access to the courts. They're supposedly under this kind of concept not to be denied, I guess, pornographic literature as well, which I, again, find very interesting because now all of a sudden we don't want a child to decide. So if the child said, hey, I want to go to church, I want to see my Christian friends, I want to celebrate Christian holidays. No, you can't do that. Well, what if the child said the opposite? I don't want to go to church. It's interesting. They'll defend their freedom of religion or their choices when it lines up with the progressive worldview.
That's exactly right. If Emily wanted to take Ava to church and Ava said, I don't want to go to church, of course, the judge would say, that's fine. But Emily wants to go to church. Ava, her daughter, wants to go to church. She misses her friends. And the judge says, you can't. And in fact, the judge's order, interestingly, says there's no evidence that Ava has been harmed by any exposure to the Bible. No evidence. Also, she says that, in fact, Emily is a fit parent. There's no issues with her being a parent. And then it goes on to say, but this church, Calvary Chapel in Portland, it has cultic tendencies. Why does it have cultic tendencies? Because it believes and teaches in heaven and hell, angels and demons, eternal life through Jesus Christ, and the pastor believes the Bible and teaches it verse by verse, chapter by chapter. That criteria, I'm telling you without exaggeration, that criteria, the judge essentially said that this is cultic. Well, if that's the criteria, in fact, one of the judges on the Maine Supreme Court, when I argued this case, pointed that out and said, this applies to all Christian religions. This applies to Christianity across the board. Believing in heaven and hell, eternal life, angels and demons, and the Bible. Yet that's what this judge did. That's why it's so unbelievably hostile. The judge also acknowledged that prohibiting Ava from immediately discontinuing associating with any of her Christian friends at the church could be psychologically harmful. And yet that's exactly what this judge did. So this is outrageous, and it has to be overturned. The precedent, if it went the other way, would be catastrophic. And essentially what you have here is Emily and Matthew Bradeen, who is obviously hostile to Christianity. They knew each other, obviously, 13 plus years ago. Emily had a baby out of wedlock, which is Ava. They decided not to get married. Emily thought it was not the right thing to do, to spend the rest of her life with Matthew. Probably a good decision at this stage, seeing what's going on. But they entered into this visitation agreement. And even though they had never been married, and so they had this joint shared custody, all was well until Ava said to her dad she wanted to be baptized. And that's where all this began. He went ballistic and got a judge, got this so-called expert from California, a sociologist, that said, oh, this church follows the Moses model. The Moses model is, in her view, bad. Well, what is the Moses model? You believe in ultimate authority. You believe in the Bible. And that's essentially it. Moses, for all of us, is a good model. He was somebody who led the children of Israel out of Egypt. Well, apparently it's a bad situation. Churches that have historic Orthodox beliefs, that's cultic, and therefore no evidence of harm, but it could possibly psychologically harm you by suggesting that there's a heaven and hell and that, there's eternal life at stake. That's outrageous.
Indeed it is. Well, we're going to be praying about that case and for that young lady and her mother as well. And maybe even for the Lord to soften the heart of the father, right?
Yeah, I'm hoping that that would be true as well. This is a very hostile area there that she's in with regards to this order. The worst thing is, as bad as it is, look, she's got a 13-year-old daughter. Anyone who's had children in their early teens knows that that's a difficult time. They go through all kinds of issues already at school. She hasn't been able to go to church. She hasn't been able to be around Christian friends. She can't go to a Christian camp, no Christian school, no teaching at all. And that has been going on for nearly 2 years, since December of 2024, from age 11 until now, age 13. So pray that, the Bible says what the locust has ate up, in terms of God replenishing, I should say, making up for that lost time that and Emily have lost during this litigation.
Can the mother see the daughter?
The mother can see the daughter, but the mother can't have Bible studies with the daughter. The mother can't expose her to the Bible. The order actually says she can't be exposed to religious philosophy or the Bible in general. I mean, that's how outrageous this order is by this judge in Portland.
And I don't know what you've taken it to the Supreme Court. I mean, of the state.
It's at the Supreme Court of the state of Maine. I argued that in mid-November. So we're pushing now 7 months. I would have expected an order by now. Obviously, there's some dissents. I don't know which way it's going. I'm hopeful that it'll go the right way. But the fact is, time is of the essence. Every time that a week goes by, a Sunday goes by, or midweek goes by, or the weeks and days move on into months, it just creates continuing harm.
Mm-hmm. You've been doing this a long time. Did you ever think we'd get to this point, Matt?
Not like this, Brannon. I've done this a lot since 1987. And, in the early 90s, we talked about Bible clubs on campus. We talked about equal access, and we still have to litigate that, unfortunately. But we didn't talk about this. COVID and post-COVID, we've gotten into a new era where in the COVID era, mayors and governors just by an executive order that they printed off and sent out, they banned church worship. They banned baptisms. They banned communion. They banned laying on of hands. They banned singing. They banned just assembly together. And they thought they could get away with it. And they did for a while. Unfortunately, that got stopped. We took cases all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court. I never thought we would see something like that. Now we have these kinds of things. And we also have an incredible assault that we see against religious freedom from the so-called LGBTQ agenda. We not only have that in the case that I'm just talking about, because they said, well, this church believes in male and female, that marriage is between a man and woman. That's one of the issues. That's common sense. That's biblical objective reality. But we have a lot of these issues around the country that we're dealing with that's a direct attack on Christianity to an extent and a level that I never thought we would see in the early 90s when we started doing these kinds of cases.
Mm. And if the Lord doesn't call up the church soon and this continues, can you imagine what judges like this are going to be ruling when it comes to our liberty and our freedom as far as Christians? And when we have elected officials, local, state, federal level, saying the things that they're saying now about Christians, saying the things they are about Jews, defending Hamas, defending Islamic jihadists. I mean, I watch this and I think if the Lord doesn't return soon, these people, as much as they seem to hate God and hate Christianity, these people will just love to find any reason to throw us in prison.
Brannon, it's easy from this vantage point to look back at the Holocaust and wonder how in the world that could have happened. How could that happen? And they take photographs of the brutal destruction and persecution, torture, and death of the Jews, and they were proud of it. And you say, how could that actually happen? Well, we're living through a moment. I've talked to a lot of Jewish people and Holocaust survivors that said, it was the 1930s that led up to the 40s, which is what we know of as the Holocaust. But it began with this demonization of Jews because they were Jews. And now we're seeing that again. And we really are on the verge, And in some places, we've seen it. We saw it on October 7, the Holocaust that took place there with the slaughter of the Jewish people because they're Jews. And then, you would think that that would turn the world's attention in a positive way. I wasn't surprised as much by October 7 per se, because I saw that anti-Semitism, that hatred of Jews being inculcated in the children from kindergarten, from birth, by the people in Gaza, Hamas, by the Palestinians and so forth. And they demonized these Jewish people from youth. So that wasn't surprising per se. The extent of the brutality was obviously shocking. But what has been surprising is the rise of anti-Semitism coming out of that. You would have thought it would be the other way.
Right.
But when you see these people and their hatred towards Jews and obviously to Christians, to God, our Creator, if they get in power, whether as judges or lawmakers or political leaders, they will weaponize the government in a very significant way. And we could experience another 1940s era again against people of faith, Jews, Christians, especially.
I agree 100%. Here's another case over at lc.org. This one's is not unexpected, but we're still shocked by it, which is good because it means you and I, my friends, are not desensitized. But here we go. An Ohio YMCA refuses to fire an adult male who enjoys wearing women's bathing suits at the pool while visibly aroused. Whereas yet, this adult male entered the youth girl showers and insisted on entering our 15-year-old client's shower. But the YMCA told our client that if he made her uncomfortable, she would have to stop using the youth locker room, instead use the handicap bathroom. This is in Ohio, Matt?
This is at an Ohio YMCA because this man goes into the youth's locker room, shower room, where they're doing swimming and where they undress and they shower and they change. And he actually corners some of these girls in a way where they can't leave, and then he will undress. And when the girls, in this particular case, one of them, our clients, complained, instead of the common sense reaction, the shock, hey, stay out of the women's, especially the young girls' shower dressing room. Instead, the 15-year-old client that we have is told, well, if you're uncomfortable with this because this person identifies as a female and has a right to be in that location, even though the age is completely, it's one thing to say, well, this person has some mental illness and they now identify as a female. It's another thing to say, this adult male now can go into these kids, these girls' locker room, shower room, identify as a female at that age. And they instead tell her, well, if you're uncomfortable, you can go into a different shower and use a single, like a handicap type of shower place that's isolated. So basically go to the back of the bus.
Are you saying that this man exposes himself? Does he undress in front of them?
Yeah, he's there, and he actually arouses himself. So you can, even when he's covered, you can see that. I mean, this is very
But is
shocking.
he actually, though, getting naked in front of them?
He is doing that and other things. Yeah. So
why is the police not charged him with exposure?
Because they say he's in that crazy system. He is a female, no different than a female undressing, which is absolutely unbelievable. So it's unbelievable. We have something similar in other places where we're dealing with this as well. I mean, just this. Just recently, you have these so-called pride events. Pride events, by the way, thankfully are really, going down. They're not as popular, thank God, as they used to be. A lot of the sponsors at these so-called pride events have backed out. I know New York City and other places, but particularly New York City, where you had a big pride event, a lot of their sponsors that they had long time, corporate sponsors, have backed out. So they have had to cancel a lot of their events. Nevertheless, just this past weekend, there were a couple of different pride events where the Satanic Temple was set up. One of those was in Ohio, and one of those with that, and another state as well, they were doing unbaptisms. So they were denouncing the name of Jesus Christ. They were baptizing, quote unquote, with blood, saying that they were unbaptizing people, and they were denouncing the name of Jesus Christ at a so-called pride event. So what's behind this, the demonic darkness, is not being hidden anymore. That's the same thing that's behind this YMCA, with the situation with this man going into the young girl's shower room, being visibly aroused and cornering them and frightening these girls. This is a demonic darkness, and they're not hiding it anymore. The mask, I think, unfortunately for them, but fortunately for those people who want to ignore this, is coming off. Satan is showing himself as the evil behind this kind of idea that God made a mistake, and he put us in the wrong body at birth, and therefore we're going to recreate ourselves as our own creator in rebellion against the creator in our own image. So this whole agenda of this LGBTQ, that you can think and therefore you are, that there is no objective reality to biology, that is dark, demonic. But thankfully, I think more and more people and corporations are realizing that this is bankrupt, it's dark, it's demonic, and it needs to be rejected.
Indeed, it does. And this brings us to not only judges, but police. Do we really want our police saying, no, we're not going to enforce the laws? Because surely there are laws on the books there in Ohio about indecent exposure, and certainly to minors, and yet where are the police? Okay, so we know we have problems with judges, but where's the police? Where are the police chief? Where's the police chief or the sheriff saying, the courts can work this out however they want, but there are laws in the books. You cannot expose yourself as an adult male to minor children. I don't think you can do that to anybody, but certainly not minor children. Doesn't that mean, Matt, that our police departments are now and sheriff departments are going along with this?
Yeah, I think they are. And, I know one of my friend, Chris Ann Hall, teaches a lot of police officers. And one of the things that she is constantly reminding them is that the sheriff is a constitutional officer, wherever they may be. And they have a right, they have a duty to enforce the law, even though their mayor or the person over them may have an ideological bent or whatever inclination they might have or instruction. And this applied during COVID. I know she was doing the same kind of instruction to police officers during COVID when they were being instructed under these executive orders to go into these churches, shut them down, and issue arrest citations or warrants to shut down these church operations. And she was clearly indicating to them, and the same applies here. These are constitutional officers. They have an independent duty to enforce the law, and they need to do their job, because you're right, to have these men, for example, going into the female locker room, no matter what they say, that's wrong. They need to enforce it. To have them expose themselves in any way, whether partially clothed or not, but exposing themselves in a way where they are obviously aroused, as in this case, that also is wrong, especially in the presence of minors.
Yeah, indeed it is. A couple more stories at lc.org. All right, so we're going to allow for that in Ohio. And then we're going to run over to more of the southern Bible Belt states. And again, of course, I like to say, as my friend, the late Norm Geisler used to say, the problem with the Bible Belt is we don't have enough Bible under our belt. And that's increasingly becoming a problem, right? So we're traditionally, we're pro-God, pro-Bible, patriotic, but the South is slipping too, folks. And we see it again and again. And here's South Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina, where a man was preaching, and within about a few minutes of him preaching, he finds himself approached, no warning, and handcuffed. Wait a minute. I thought we had freedom of speech, freedom of religion on the public sidewalk, Matt.
Yeah, they said you can't preach without a permit. They handcuffed him and gave him a citation and a fine for over $1,000. He had been doing this for 5 years, so it's no problem. There's obviously a change of the regime, and these police officers, and so this particular person, he's not blocking traffic. You know, if you want to have a parade or you want to have a large gathering, for example, in a public park, typically the different ordinances, city or county, they require you to have a permit if your gathering is going to be, you know, X amount of people or more. But if you're an individual and you're walking on the sidewalk and you're passing out literature, or you're sharing the gospel, or you're preaching, in this case, the gospel to people who are willing to listen, you don't need a permit for that. You don't need, because just imagine two people walking down the sidewalk and they have a casual conversation. You don't need a permit to talk to your friend as you're walking down the sidewalk. You don't need a permit to stop and ask for directions at an intersection. It's unconstitutional. And in fact, when the founders left the European nations and they came here to found America, when they adopted the First Amendment, they were opposed vehemently to what they called prior restraints. Because in England and other places, in order to speak, you had to have a license. And so when government officials didn't like what you were going to speak, they withheld your license. So they created the First Amendment to prohibit this prior licensing authority of speech called a prior restraint. And that's exactly what is happening here. They're now saying, oh, you need a permit to be able to speak the gospel. No, you don't. That's unconstitutional. So we're on that case. Interestingly, there's also two cases very similar to this in North Carolina. I don't know what's going on in the Carolinas, but this one's in South Carolina, in Greenville, and the other two that we're working on are in North Carolina. Again, you would think this is the Bible Belt. This is not going to happen here, but sadly it is.
Well, let's go to one more case, and that has to do with the 10 Commandments. Where are we at with states posting the 10 Commandments?
Well, it depends right now. We've got two cases going through the different courts, or several cases. There's one out of Louisiana, one out of Texas, and one out of Arkansas. Now, the one involving the Federal Court of Appeals recently ruled correctly that the so-called Lemon Test from 1971 of the Supreme Court is no longer valid. Our case, Shurtleff versus City of Boston, which you've covered several times in this program, rejected this Lemon Test from a Supreme Court opinion from 1971, 9-0. And that case then was used a few weeks later in the Coach Kennedy case, which also rejected it and ruled that it's overruled, no longer good law. So the law, the way that we're going to approach the First Amendment with regards to these issues is looking at history and traditions. Is the history of our country and the traditions of our country regarding this issue, and let's take the 10 Commandments, is that something that should be unconstitutional under the First Amendment? So the Court of Appeals recently ruled, no, it's not. Lemon is gone. This 51-year-old precedent that was overturned in 2022, at the time 51 years, is gone. Now we're going to interpret the Constitution according to more of its original meaning. But now there's a lawsuit that we're also involved in Arkansas. And there were 10 commandments that were at issue there, posting, just like in Louisiana and also in Texas, in public school classrooms. The lower court ruled that it was unconstitutional, again, relying upon this outdated, overruled 1971 opinion. So we've just been asked by people in Arkansas to file a brief. We did. That is now pending at the Court of Appeals, another federal court of appeals. It's clearly constitutional to display the 10 Commandments in the classroom or outside the classroom. For example, the 10 Commandments is displayed inside and outside the United States Supreme Court at least 50 times. You can't walk inside or outside without seeing the 10 Commandments. And why? Because it's a symbol of law. It has profoundly shaped our Western legal tradition, our notions of right and wrong and morality. The 10 Commandments is part of the official seal of the federal Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals that sits in San Francisco, California. And you can go on and on about how pervasive the 10 Commandments is. And why? Because, yes, it's a religious document that was given to Moses by God on Mount Sinai, but it's also, in its effect, also secular. Every Western culture has been profoundly shaped, including America, especially by the 10 Commandments.
Yeah. It's just, God forbid kids follow the 10 Commandments, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not covet. It's so you think some of these states are going to win and be able to keep it up, at least under the historical basis?
I think so. On a historical basis, the 10 Commandments obviously predated the Constitution. There's no way when you look at it as a history and tradition standpoint that they ever thought, whether writing the First Amendment, they're going to erase every reference, every symbol of the 10 Commandments in the nation. I've done some research on this. The 10 Commandments, or portions of them, were adopted by all 13 colonies. And in fact, it's the basis for our property laws, our criminal laws, our testimony laws about not bearing false testimony, and on and on. And courts for many, many years from the beginning of this country have referenced the 10 Commandments, including even today. And in fact, if you go on one of the search engines and you want to do, quote, 10 Commandments, close quote, find some research papers, you're going to find tens and tens of thousands of research papers or papers. The 10 Commandments of motorcycle mechanics, the 10 Commandments of gardening. Why do they use the 10 Commandments? Well, because the 10 Commandments have been always understood as a rule of law. And consequently, not having the 10 Commandments in the classroom or not having the 10 Commandments in the courtroom really is erasing history and the rule of law.
Yeah, it absolutely is. In fact, I don't even know if you know this, Matt, but if people go to my vault, worldviewtube.com/vault, and then they look for ebooks, and then when you get to the ebooks, because this book's out of print, when you get to the ebooks, look for my book from 2005, One Nation Under Man, One Nation Under Man. And then you can download that ebook. Well, if you download that ebook, you know what you're going to find, folks? When you use the old Control F, which I'll do that right now, STAVER. Let's see if that'll work for me. STA, got to spell it right, ER. There we go. Look what starts popping up. Oh, all kinds of quotes and things from Matt Staver, who wrote a lot on the 10 Commandments. And you can see I keep citing him in this 2005 book. His name keeps popping up where I'm citing him because he did a lot of studies on this and gave us a lot of the cases on the history of the 10 Commandments in our nation. So again, he's been doing this a long time. And again, that's my 2005 book. There you go.
That's amazing. The interesting thing is I got involved in that research, and I was actually amazed as well when I did the research in the early 2000s when the issue of the 10 Commandments arose in Kentucky. And that's when the research began. And I was just amazed at the research in terms of how pervasive, how widespread it is. The 10 Commandments are throughout the nation's capital. They're all over the nation's capital. And literally, you can't walk in. When you walk into the great room of the United States Supreme Court, which is the long rectangle hall before you get into the courtroom, every fifth depiction carved in the stone is the profile of Moses with the 10 Commandments. When you walk through the double doors, the wooden doors, 10 Commandments on each side. When you sit down in like the equivalent of church pews, when you go out to the right or go out to the left, the 10 Commandments is on your right and left on each aisle at eye level. And it can just go on and on and on. On the back side of the Supreme Court, you have Moses sitting on a chair with the 10 Commandments tablets on each side, one on each side as he's sitting down, as the centerpiece of all law. And that's what it's designed to convey.
Amazing history. Absolutely amazing. Folks, there is so much we could talk about, but we don't have the time to go through everything. They're doing great work over at the Liberty Council. You should sign up for their newsletter. I get it. That's how I keep track of what he's up to. And I report on a lot of these stories in my Worldview newscasts, as you know, that they're covering and they're representing in court, which we're thankful for. lc.org to get their newsletter. Matt, it's been a while since we've had you on. It's great to have you back. Thank you for all you're doing to defend parental authority, religious freedom, free speech. Thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you, Brannon. It's always a pleasure to be with you.
You too, my friend. Matt Staver checking in tonight. Again, you can sign up for their free newsletter. lc.org, Liberty Council is what it stands for, obviously. lc.org. We'll be right back after this short break.
The storm hits, the power's out. The stores are empty. Grocery shelves? Cleared in hours. And now you're staring into an empty pantry, wondering how you're going to feed your family. It doesn't have to be that way. Worldview Store offers premium emergency freeze-dried food, real meals packed with nutrition, ready when you need them most. Hearty breakfasts, savory dinners, hot, satisfying food for your whole family. With a shelf life of up to 25 years, you store it once and forget about it until the day you need it. Just add water. In minutes, you've got a hot, delicious meal. No refrigeration, no fuss, no panic. Hurricanes, blackouts, job loss, supply shortages, whatever comes, you'll be ready. Don't wait for the next emergency to wish you'd prepared. Visit worldviewstore.com. That's worldviewstore.com or call 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652.
Joining me now is Michael Weiner, because President Trump from the Oval Office today said he loves inflation. Dolly, your favorite guest is on. Michael Weiner, come on up here. Say hello to Michael. Michael Weiner's coming on to talk about CPI. Yeah. And President Trump says he loves inflation. Why are you being so shy down there? Come on up. Say hello. Come on. Michael wants to see you. Come on. Come up. That a girl. See, there's Michael. Michael's about to come on. You say, hi, Michael Weiner. Yeah, he sent you a jacket. Ugh. He sent you a jacket. Remember that? Yeah. All right. You want to hear what President Trump had to say? He loves inflation. Here it goes. Here's what he said.
Sure, the right people come into our country.
I will. I will. Are you concerned, Mr. President, about the latest inflation number which came out this morning? Could that be a
No, I love it. The numbers were great. You know what I really love? I love the inflation. You know why? Because as soon as this war is over, you know, I can say it now. Something you didn't know. Do you know we've been taking out millions of barrels of oil? Nobody knows it. You know who doesn't know about it? Iran, until right now. We took out the other night 22 ships, late at night with no lights, because they don't have any radar, because we blasted the crap out of it. We took out, that's why oil's $85 a barrel. I mean, you take a look. Remember when I did this, I said, look, the one bad thing will be we hit the best economy we've ever hit. And I said to my people, I had Scott, I had Howard, I had Pete, I had all of them. I had Todd in the room. I said, the one thing we have to do now, we had just hit the highest stock market in history, highest 401ks in history. Everything was going well. And I said, I hate to do this to you guys, but Iran's going to have a nuclear weapon very soon. We have to go and attack. So we...
Okay, wait a minute. Do we have any more information on the oil he was stealing from Iran? Did he say more about that? So what were they doing? 22 ships, 22 tankers? Was that the number he used? 22 tankers in one night. Were they siphoning it off on the bottom of the ocean floor off of a pipe? I don't know what all that means, but he loves the CPI numbers. He loves inflation. I think that unfortunately might turn into a commercial for the Democrats. President Trump loves the fact that your family is struggling to pay for your grocery bill. He loves inflation. I don't think I'd be saying that. I thought he told us a few months ago that he wiped out inflation, Logan. Can you find that clip where a few months ago he said, I've wiped out inflation? Michael, I don't know what to make of this from day to day. Your thoughts?
That's the problem. You know, I'm a Reagan Republican, always will be. And I'm not voting for a communist socialist, that's for sure. I think Trump is having his moments right now in certain areas, to say the least. One of the big factors that came out besides the CPI was the comments regarding the solution to the situation of which I have been warning people of, is stating the way that we can get rid of the debt completely is using cryptocurrencies with our monies. Of course, that's exactly the play that I made a comment on last week and been warning about dramatically, that they are going to devalue and degrade the currencies. No matter who wins the elections, the government, the president has the capacity under the Roosevelt law to do what he wants, and it's going to happen. Now,
let me just stop right there, because what that means is if you're going to destroy the currency and then try to pay down the debt with cheap dollars, then that means obviously that's inflationary. And
they're not going to do anything. We are.
Yes.
The suckers here is us. These people spend our money, overspend, write checks that we'll talk about in a bit, do things, and then we pay for it. We get defrauded and we pay to get defrauded again. And it's just absolutely astounding. But the problem with what Trump is talking about here is the inflation he is talking about is a product of the Iranian crisis because of the fact of the war and the oil situation has created a huge, huge dilemma globally, and that's affecting us. And I think there might be a turnaround. I don't expect things to go crazy in that direction. That is not my fear. My fear is that casual comment regarding the devaluation of our money. And devaluation is like Mr. and Mrs. Smith. It's time to tighten your belts. And guess what? The people that will lose is us. Why should I tighten my belt? I paid my money. It's not my fault some idiot sent a check to somebody in Minnesota or Washington State or New York, and they put it legitimately into Vegas on a truck. I mean, it's not my fault. It's their fault for not doing their job.
Logan found a couple clips. I found a couple clips as well where President Trump was talking about inflation some time ago. Here we go. Here's one of them. Watch and listen, please.
I love the inflation. One of my top priorities will be to quickly defeat inflation and make America affordable again. We have to bring down prices.
Hey, we have major breaking economic news. Inflation data just in, up over 4%, much higher than when President Trump took office.
Gas prices up by 7% on a monthly basis. But this is not just gas. Airfare also, jet fuel has skyrocketed. Paychecks are just not going as far, right? Wages are up, but not nearly as much as prices. So real wages are actually shrinking.
I love it. The numbers were great. You know what I really love? I love the inflation.
All right, they've already made it into basically a commercial, okay? They've already basically made it into a commercial. Here is President Trump back in 2024. Look what he says here.
We will end inflation and make America affordable again. We're going to get the prices down. We have to get them down. It's too much. Groceries, cars, everything. We're going to get the prices down. But prices will come down. You just watch. They'll come down, and they'll come down fast, not only with insurance, with everything. Oh, tomorrow I will end inflation. We will cut your taxes, end inflation, slash your prices. I will end inflation. I'll end inflation.
All right, they're already making them into commercials. I mean, he said it a few hours ago, and it's already been made into commercials on the other side. This is not good. Not good. But he got back into office. He saw the books. He got surrounded by the technocrats, the Keynesian economist, who John Maynard Keynes said, by this process of continuous inflation, we can steal the majority of the people's wealth, and not one man in a million will know what we are doing. Stealing, this is a hidden tax, stealing the purchasing power of Americans. Now, as we're on the air tonight, gold is dropping. I called you last night when I got off the air, and I said, Michael, gold is continuing to go down. I was listening to a guy, I don't know his name, I'd give him credit if I knew, but I was listening to a analyst on another financial show, because I watch a ton of financial shows, and to try to figure out, what's going to happen, where things are going. And this one analyst about 2 months ago was predicting $3,500 an ounce gold. Now, gold had just hit 5,000 and was coming back down, and I'm thinking 3,500 is going to go all the way back down there. Now, he had his chart. He had his chart, and he was using the old cursor on his computer and explaining to the host why he sees this as probable. I don't know if it'll go to 3,500, but it's now almost back to $4,000 an ounce. Michael?
Well, first of all, the genius who came up with that didn't realize the fact, in fact, in his little chart, that we had an Iranian situation, and prompted things further is the fact that the war itself is now going on further. I wish there was just finish them off. But what's going on? There's a huge amount of sell-offs right now of gold. People who are in the Middle East, the countries that are producing oil, do not want payments in currencies. And I don't care what the country is: China, India, Australia, European Union, England. They don't want money. They don't want paper. They want gold. And when gold is sold off, that literally pays for the oil. And guess what? There's been a lot sold off. But this is a temporary phenomenon. Okay, we are not out of any type of bull thing, and none of the fundamentals that we live with have changed at all. As a matter of fact, a very smart guy that I have a lot of respect for, Jeff Clark, who's a top analyst, does a report, basically said that gold could triple if the 1970 bull market pattern says Jeff Clark. And I know Jeff. Understand the fact that, in deference to some youngsters out there that want to tell me about the market, I was there, okay? I lived through what happened then. I owned the gold company at that point, and I could tell you right now, everybody thought gold was going to click. Gold went up to 200. Fundamentals were all on our side. Everything was going crazy, and all of a sudden, boom, the Iranian crisis hit. Gold dropped to 128. And then you had the analysts saying, oh, my God, gold's going back to $40. Guess what happened? When it hit bottom, and nobody, if I knew when it hit bottom, I'd be in my own gold-plated office calling up Vegas every 20 minutes. I mean, that's ridiculous. I can give you my numbers for the end of the year have not changed, but what Jeff is saying is what I knew. In 1979, gold went up in 4.5 months, 600%. It went from $128, Google it, to $830 by January of 1980, period. The only thing that brought it down in January of 1980 is when the International Monetary Fund started doing auctions to control the chaos and selling off gold, just like we're doing here. But it never brought it back to 128. Never saw that again. Now Jeff's talking about it tripling to 12,000. I stay with my position of 6,000. It could be significantly worse. But at these points of time, first of all, don't get nervous. Don't, if you're going to call me up, I'm going to tell you the same thing you're listening to right now. But I'm also going to warn you, none of the things and none of the stuff I have said or warned you of has changed at all. We're heading into a storm just like they were heading into in 1979. We were heading in with inflation in 79 when we went to double digits, when we had unemployment, but more, we don't have any of those issues. What we had was a chaotic financial situation left by the Democrats. Right now, we have a chaotic financial distribution to us made by probably the last 5 to 7 presidents except Reagan. They have literally destroyed the dollar, indebted the nation. Their only solution is to create a pseudo currency, and that pseudo currency is going to be used as a means of devaluing our money. And then forget about inflation, forget about paying a couple bucks for a hot dog. When you had $100,000 in the bank, like that lady did in Cyprus we did last week, and she woke up and it was gone. Or when my grandfather woke up from $500,000 in the bank to $130,000 in 30 days when they devalued the money. And for those people who say, oh, I'll just buy stock, stock will not go out of business. Stock will revalue. Funds won't. Funds won't. You will lose because you're betting on things with funds. Individual stocks will not. So the reality of all of this is that for people to be worried about gold right now is a benefit to all the other countries that right now are planning on repurchasing and buying for their central banks gold as quickly as they can once there's a settlement in the Middle East.
Okay, and so right now gold is on sale, in my opinion. Silver is on sale.
Correct.
The question is, how far down is it going to go? What do you think, and when do you see it?
Well, if they test 4,000, there's two things that can go on. They can test 4,000, drop it down to 3,800, and at that point in time, I think it'll pop up if it does drop below 4,000. And you're getting me into the day-to-day guy I used to be back 40 years ago. But let's put it this way. If we test 4,000, we might go travel down to 3,800, and I'd be a buyer anytime between that now and then, because by the time we figure it all out, and it's the same thing, we've lived through this over the last few years. If you've been in this, you've seen gold. When I predicted the year that it was 2,000 and ran up to 4,000 at the end, it ran up to 3,000, went back to 2,200. So by the time you figure out what's gone wrong, Brannon, it's going to be on its way back up again.
So you agree with this guy here then? Trump's inflation affection is an admission. Like the 1970s inflation, energy shocks pushed gold from $35 an ounce to $200 in 1974. Silver ran from $1.50 an ounce to $6.70 an ounce. Both crashed in 1975. Gold went down to $103 an ounce in 76, shaking out late-stage speculators before surging again to $850 an ounce in 1980. You think we're seeing a repeat of that?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, when that was going on, and I owned one of the largest gold companies at that point, I used to have NBC. When that was happening between August of 79 and January of 1980, I got on national television and I said, quite honestly, gold is, the world's got a cold and gold is Kleenex. It was insanity what was going on then. I'm hoping we don't see that. If that happened here, and I know my clients are going to be mad, you'd see gold go to $12,000 an ounce, but it's very unsettling. My concern, patiently and acting versus reacting, is we are heading into a storm. At the end of the year, we're heading in with Democrats that right now are going to play up every negativity you have. You're having it today. And when these negativities come in, gold doesn't go down, it goes up. So realize the fact that we are in a perfect storm. And I guess my comment right now is I would not at all waver. This is not something where there's a long-term dilemma. This is a short-term bump in the road that has been given to you, prompted by President Trump's Iranian situation, and ultimately will even gain us more. Maybe I'll be raising my number from 6,200. But if you talk to central banks, they're not looking at gold going down. They're looking at buying. They love these prices. They love it. They're going to be in there buying at this point. So I would not be nervous about that. I'd be nervous about everything else.
Yeah. Listen to what
the market ever correct.
Listen to what Peter Schiff has had to say in the last few hours.
Trump has it backwards. The world economy doesn't work because of us. Our economy works because of the world. We have a dysfunctional consumer-based credit economy that rests on the foundation of the U.S. dollar's reserve currency status, and the world is now pulling the rug out from under the U.S. The dollar is going to collapse. The dollar is going to be replaced by gold. Central banks are buying gold to back up their currencies. They're getting rid of dollars. They're getting rid of treasuries. We are headed for an economic crisis, again, that will make the 2008 financial crisis look like a Sunday school picnic. The biggest difference between the crisis that we're about to have and the one we had back then is this one is all in America. It's not going to be exported to the rest of the world. It's not a global financial crisis. It's an American financial crisis.
Wow. And he's been
charge him because he must have listened to one of our shows. I mean, I know Peter. Pete's a great guy, but I'll tell you, understand the fact he's just saying what I'm saying. I mean, this for people who want to protect themselves. And we've said to you, go ahead, look at your portfolios, think about getting smart, get protected. Understand the fact you've been given a gift. You literally have been given a gift. And you people out there that are sitting on gold, be happy, because at the end of the day, things will work out to your advantage right now, but this is just a bump in the road.
Let's see. Let me go to another clip by Peter. A little more relaxed atmosphere, but here we go.
I don't care what you think about Bitcoin. You could disagree with me. You think maybe in the long run it's going to be a new digital gold. It's going to have some kind of value of who knows what. But before Bitcoin can get to the promised land, it's got to get through the liquidation of Strategy. This whole company has to go bankrupt. This whole thing has to be unwound because there's no way out of this.
There you go. You agree?
Absolutely. How are we going to deal? $40 trillion of debt has to be revalued at the end of the year. Who's going to buy our debt? You want it, Brannon? I don't want it. The problem is they're going to turn to Mr. and Mrs. America, and they're going to say, guess what? We all, as real Americans and true citizens, need to tighten our belts, and we need to sit back and all get together and literally absorb this for the greater good. Well, my answer is you first. We pay you idiots to go to Washington. All you do is you send money. They're talking about all this fraud going around the country. If these idiots weren't spending money the way they were, we would have no debt right now at all if somebody was trying to follow the checks that they sent, let alone the people who spent it. So the people who sent the checks didn't follow it. The people who took the checks stole it. And even worse than in this country, and they haven't, I'm going to make a prediction today. You want to talk about another huge fraud case? Foreign money. We spend trillions to these countries. We spent trillions to Ukraine, Uganda, Africa, European nations, all around the world. We send billions of dollars of money we don't have. And who tracks it? We don't know anything. We don't know anything about the trillion we've sent to Ukraine. We don't know anything. We keep doing it. It's almost like a show. They think they're on Johnny Carson. They're going to send money out, and it's okay. It's no big deal. There's no accountability, and it's coming to a head. And when it does, like Peter said, and what I am saying, it will affect you unless you properly prepare. And that's what we try to do.
All right.
And the low-hanging fruit's your IRA, because that's the first thing on the table. They know exactly where it is, and they know exactly what to do, which is nationalize.
Nationalize. And we've been worrying about that now for several years, as well as the bail-ins versus the bailouts. And many people think Cyprus in 2013 was the test. And of course, if you read the small print, we've been talking about you are an uninsured creditor, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now let's go to IPO of what is it? SpaceX going IPO.
SpaceX.
What do you make of this? Because is this one reason why gold is down? Is this one reason why the market was down? Or are people getting out to get ready to put into SpaceX? What do you think?
No, the SpaceX has nothing to do with gold. It would have something to do with the stock market. I think it's going to be a positive initially for the stock market. I think Elon Musk is a brilliant guy, and I think SpaceX is going to get a lot of activity. I think he's going to be to the cellular industry the way streaming was to CDs and Blockbuster video. It won't exist anymore. They're going to change the narrative on it. So I think it's a speculative investment. It's, as we tell people, don't empty every dime out and put it into gold. But owning a piece of stock in a company is totally different than owning a mutual fund and betting on the price. I think ultimately the stock market's going to take a hit, but I think that SpaceX will come in, it'll drive up dramatically, and then it'll pull back. But I think it has its place in today's economy because Elon Musk is a brilliant guy, and he's tied into Anthropic, and I think the two of them are going to be positioned well for the future. But that's a different part of your portfolio. As I say to people when we talk all the time, your life is a train. You have an engine that generates your income. If you want to put your money into something that generates your income, I don't own any mutual funds. Why? I can own a stock like in Chevron and get paid a 5.5% dividend versus having to risk anything with some genius in New York that I'm just enriching to live in a $30 million condo in the sky. There's different things you could do. So I think SpaceX has its place, but it's another opportunity for a different part of your portfolio. Gold is what protects your money to be able to buy it. Be assured of the fact the people that will lose when they make this devaluation are all the people that are being greedy in funds and annuities and other things that can be revalued. And unfortunately, strangely enough, most of the companies don't offer you the capability of owning stock. They only want you to own funds. Why do they want you to own funds versus stock? Liquidity. Your company owns your 401k until you leave. So they don't want you in something they can't get liquid in right away. You can sell out of a fund in 2 days, not a stock. I mean, it's a different situation. So
let's go to listen to this gentleman. Here we go.
The SpaceX IPO is coming. Will it go to the moon or to Mars? SpaceX's eagerly awaited IPO is scheduled for this coming Friday in what will be the largest IPO in history, 3 times larger than the current leader, Saudi Arabia's state-owned oil company. Would make SpaceX worth $1.8 trillion, which is the 10th biggest company in the world, just ahead of Facebook. Now, unlike most IPOs where insiders cash out some of their shares, SpaceX is doing all new shares at $135 each. And Elon is retaining 42% ownership, but 85% voting control. Meaning if you're buying SpaceX, you are hiring Elon. So SpaceX is made of 3 parts. The space launches, the Starlink global satellite business, and AI since SpaceX merged with X, which owns Grok. There's speculation SpaceX could also buy Tesla. Odds on prediction market call share running 54% for an acquisition within the year. That would make the 3rd biggest company in the world behind NVIDIA and Apple. Breaking it down, most of SpaceX revenue is Starlink, about $11 billion. Space launches are another $4 billion. X and Grok are $3 billion. In terms of profit, Starlink is also carrying the show with $7 billion operating profit. 2/3 of revenue as profits is very impressive, and users are doubling every year, including deals for in-flight high-speed internet with 40 airlines, including United's entire fleet. The space business is also growing fast. Falcon launches are doubling every 2 years, but revenue is rising slow and space is not profitable because most launches are internal for Starlink. Finally, XAI, Grok, it's actually losing about $3 billion a year because like all AI, it is furiously building data centers. Put it together and you're paying $1.8 trillion for a business that's got $18 billion in revenue and is losing money. That's 100 times revenue, 3 times ChatGPT's price to sales, it's 4 times NVIDIA's, 7 times Tesla's, and that's where Elon comes in, because Elon is the most transformational innovator since Thomas Edison. Steve Jobs didn't invent squat and turned a little computer maker into $3 trillion. Elon Musk makes science fiction reality. He catches rockets with chopsticks. He made electric vehicles work after a century of failure by the world's brightest minds, including Edison. He literally founded modern AI. ChatGPT was Elon's creation before Scam Altman stole it. And then there's what's next. Elon's floated a Starlink phone so you can replace T-Mobile, a $1 trillion business worldwide. AI data centers in space, where the sun always shines, also a $1 trillion business. Rockets that go New York to Tokyo in an hour at the cost of today's business class, another $1 trillion business. There's orbital high-end manufacturing, even space mining. A single asteroid, Psyche 16, contains quadrillions, thousands of trillions, worth of platinum and other metals, even allowing for price collapse, more supply, lower price. That's still yet more trillions for SpaceX. And finally, turning Mars into an ANCAP utopia, the biggest real estate deal ever. So what's next, brought to you by the Bitcoin Way on conventional metrics, SpaceX.
What do you make of that, Michael?
I think there's a lot to it. He's not incorrect. I think there's a future. It's just like when they used to talk about the television industry and all of the other changes that went on in the 90s from the 80s. I think we're heading into a new form of technical, scientific areas that are going to be very dramatic. And I think that there's a place for Starlink. But I don't think you should look at it as a balancing part of your portfolio. I think you could have some if you wanted, only if you could afford to get it. And I think it's going to get pretty crazy initially, and I would wait till it settles down.
Okay, so how are these countries, they keep talking about all these central banks and countries are going to go to basing their currency on gold. But the argument has been there's not enough gold in the world to do that. So is it going to be a percentage of their currency backed by gold? And then if not, if that's the case, what will be the remainder? Will it be the tokenization of all, like say all the land the federal government owns that we've been taking from states? That's going to end up on the tokenization. So it'll be a mixture of gold with land, mineral rights that President Trump's going for in Ukraine, maybe some of the oil in Venezuela. Is it going to be the tokenization of other assets backing currencies in America and around the world?
That's exactly correct. You nailed it. And reality is gold, which is not plentifully available, has one other thing they can do to make it valuable within their central banks. That's why Peter is saying central banks are all, we're talking one way and being concerned about values, and they're talking about like, let me get as much as I can, because they know that ultimately there's going to be the need to do one thing, reevaluate. And that's even what Trump talked about the other day, run the price of gold up. That's why some people believe in the next 5 years, gold will be $25,000 an ounce. If they can't get enough, they'll price it enough. And that's exactly what's going to happen. That's why I said by the time Trump leaves office, which is in a couple of years, $8,000 gold. A lot of people are saying 10,000. We had, people talking more than that. But gold is now a monetary asset in a paper-driven world. And the only way to get into proper tokenization is to tie it into real assets. That's why when you look at even the situation with SpaceX, it's a hard asset-based situation. It's not a cryptocurrency. It's a physical industry. And there's a big difference with physical industries. That's why years ago, when people said General Electric was going to go broke, they went from $7 back to $228, $248. Physical industries are going to do well, but gold is going to be the engine that they move into. And that's why you see big companies purchasing gold. And I assure you, if Elon Musk, and I'm not saying I know if he owns gold or not, because I'm not 100% privy to say that at this point, but I will say that if Elon Musk is an asset-based guy, he's not a guy. That's why at one point when he got into the cryptos, he got out of it. He's very smart businessman. So I think that there's going to be a comeuppance, as it might be, to revaluating gold and as a strategic part of the central bank's portfolios.
Ed Dowd is out there. He says, and we've interviewed him several times, he said that Bank of America's warning on U.S. stocks has more red flags than a Chinese communist parade. There you go.
Right.
And how much do you think the market could correct? So a lot of these folks in the 401k and the IRA, how big of a hit are they likely to take in the next correction?
I think you can go close to 40,000. Somewhere in that area.
So what, a 30% drop or 40%? What do you think?
I think it could be somewhere where a 20% drop puts it at 40,000. I think there hasn't been a correction. Thank God gold corrects. Thank God that gold moves in that direction and is not manipulated like our stock market. How could something consistently go up and up and up and up and up? It doesn't make sense. When I started off, we had a market that's fluctuated. We don't have that. And that's because there's manipulation, just like we had in the Los Angeles election and in California. When they have time, they play with the numbers. And that's the beauty of gold, is gold is an international phenomenon and can't be played with. And that's why Peter Schiff was saying that the problem that's going to happen is going to be within our country, because the $40 trillion debt is on our table. It's not on anybody else's. So that's what we need to prepare for, and that's what we need to be ready for. And that's what we keep talking about, the destruction of generational wealth. We need to protect and secure retirement plans, need to reevaluate your banking situation. If you wait till the end to do something about it, you will literally pay more, get less, or can't do anything at all. You'll be frozen in time.
Listen to this. Tell me what you think of this. This is very interesting. Here we go. Listen.
Business contributor Katrina Campins recently closed on a Boca Raton home for a buyer using Bitcoin. The price tag, David, $4.2 million. And while vetting the funds was the hardest part, the sale closed in just, get this, 23 days, faster than some traditional deals. Business contributor Katrina Campins recently...
All right. So home buyers can use crypto to qualify for mortgages.
Interesting. That's another subprime holiday heading our way. We just keep putting nails in our coffin. That's all I can say. I mean, I'm waiting to see what the mortgage industry does in general as related to it. They'll probably embrace it because it gives them a lot of time to make a lot of money. And I've got a very good friend of mine who owns probably the biggest mortgage company in America. I can't mention who. You figure it out yourself. I grew up with them. And they're going to embrace this. Why not? It's all about making money. That's what they did with subprime. They embraced it. They used it, they buried us, and guess what? Everybody moved back with mommy. So these people that are using cryptos and these banks that are accepting it or mortgage companies that are accepting it, it's another, without any licensing, without an industry that has any regulation, without the FDIC backing, nothing. They're putting a house on the line with the cryptos. And guess what? If there is a smash down, or if there's something that blows down in that area, we'll have another housing crisis.
All right. So when are they going to when are they going to reevaluate gold? What is it at right now? About $47 an ounce on the government books?
As soon as
do I have that right? Is it about $42 or $47?
$42.50 an ounce.
$42.50. So when are they going to reset this?
Anytime. I know Basant wants to do it. I know Trump mentioned on Monday he wants to get into Fort Knox because it's on the books. We have supposedly 300 million ounces of gold. Whatever the number might be, it's being priced on our balance sheet at $42.50. If they price it at the spot price of gold, that'll go up percentage-wise by 1,000%. I mean, it's ridiculous. So it's going to be a very
how many ounces of gold does the U.S. government own?
They claim there's almost 300 million ounces.
Can someone do 300 million times, I don't know, when would they reprice it? They think they'll wait for it to go back up to 5,000 to reprice it?
No, even if they do it now, they come out ahead. But it's just Basant, before he came in office, and some of our clients can remember, I sent you an article of his interview, some of you, when Basant said that he wants to get in and reprice gold. Basant's a gold guy. He always has been. One of the biggest things in his portfolio for his old company was gold. So that's another little nail in the positive side for the gold market, is when the government does make that move, it's a means of being able to build their balance sheet. If they build their balance sheet, and let's say gold is now worth an extra 8 trillion or 9 trillion, that goes against our debt. So that's exactly why the game is being played, and it's a benefit to all of us.
Let's do the math on that real quick. 300 million times, let's say 300 million times $5,000. It's going to probably pop back up there. That would be $1.5 trillion. Right?
No, I think it's 15.
$5,000 an ounce by 300 million ounces.
Times 300 million.
Is that not 1.5 trillion? 1.5 trillion. I mean, that's nice, but that's a long way from $40 trillion debt.
Of course. It just goes against the debt. Whatever it is, it's a positive from nothing. So it still puts the United States back in the gold business, not using it as backing, but then they become an absolute buyer, and they're a long versus a short.
Okay.
So they're actually back in the business.
So the Fed is caught between a rock and a hard place. We're going to have inflation. We're going to have inflation either way.
Correct.
Here's and the reason I say that. For all of you watching, wondering, is your grocery bill going to go up? Is your homeowner's insurance, car insurance, health insurance, utility bill, is everything going up? And the answer is yes. No matter what they do, it is going to all go up. And here's why I say that. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Weiner. If they raise the interest rates, then obviously that raises the amount of interest we're paying on our debt, which means they have to monetize that, because who's running around buying up our garbage right now? So they have to try to buy our own debt, get our own government to buy our own debt, which in itself is printing money. That is inflationary, expanding the money supply. So if they raise the interest rates, thinking, well, we'll raise interest rates to tap down inflation, but raising the interest rates can create inflation by adding to the massive amount we're paying in interest on that 40 trillion, which has to be brought up by expanding the balance sheet to buy our own debt. So either way, you're creating money. The other way is you don't raise interest rates, you leave them where they're at, but you continue to have this quantitative easing that we've returned to, and that's inflationary. So, and even if you were to lower the interest rates, which I don't see them doing, that would be inflationary because now you're creating cheaper dollars, more stimulation from the lower interest rates. So either way, keep them where they're at, lower them or raise them, it's still going to be inflationary. Do I have that right or wrong?
Absolutely.
Absolutely right or wrong? Which one?
You're right. You're right. So, I mean, you would think that that's something they'd want to go against, but that's not the case. It's called, we call it, for the simple layman, it's fudging the numbers. It's literally gaslighting us with numbers. And the reality is you'll be walking away thinking everything is wonderful until it's not. The only way to get rid of a debt, as we all know, is you pay the bill, right? You get a bill for $1,000, you pay the $1,000. What do you owe? Zero. But here in our country, we don't do that. We just come up with all these magnificent ways to make X equal Y, and then the next time we come along, it's different, and then all of a sudden, that number changes. So just like when you're talking about using cryptocurrencies to buy a house, you're using an asset that is an absolutely unvalidated, unsecured asset to buy something. And then sit back and try to, I don't understand how an insurance company can insure it. It's literally, how do you insure it? If there's a fire or a hurricane in Florida, are they going to replace the value of that house or rebuild it with cryptos? Or are they going to rebuild it with our dollars? And guess who's going to pay for it if it's dollars? We're going to pay for it.
Well, what if the person that is using their crypto is leverage? What if they get locked out of their account or can't remember their password, can't get into it? I mean, I don't know if that's a legitimate question, but the reason I ask you is because I've heard of guys who had Bitcoin who are searching garbage dumps for months on end, trying to find their hard drive because they threw out their computer or they lost their password and they can't get back in. So wouldn't it make sense that if someone is qualifying for a loan against crypto, what if that person gets locked out of that crypto or crypto crashes?
What the answer to it is they don't care. It's just like the subprime market, like the movie margin
because they
call.
made their money.
They made their money. They'll just sell it off. It's just like in the movie margin call when the guy turns around and says, sell it. I don't care who you sell it to. That's what he said. I don't care what you could do. Get what you can. Let's get out of it. Save our company. Who cares what happened to the people? That's exactly what we're looking at here. They don't care. The company and the mortgage company, whoever accepted these cryptos, are going to pass that on until we all pay the piper for it. And like I said, think about it. There's a hurricane. State Farm's got the insurance on it. Are they going to pay the contractors in cryptos to fix it? No. They're going to pay it with dollars. So who's funding all that? We are. You and I, Brannon.
Okay, now tell me how you believe that the Trump family how are they going, do you think, in your opinion, because I don't want to be involved in defamation or libel, but in your opinion, how do you think the Trump family or Trump Corporation or any of these other people, how are they going to profit from all this with the bill that we're all waiting to pass, to be finally signed, the Clarity Act? How do you think they're going to make money on this?
Well, because they have their own coins.
Okay, I know, but explain this to the lay people.
The lay people, Mr. and Mrs. America, they created their own Bitcoin and they call it the Trump coin. And the reality is that coin and what they have that they're offering is a cryptocurrency. So there's an absolute product that they're going to use as a means of paying and using it as funds, et cetera, and take advantage of it. And that's why I say that there's a inherent conflict of interest on the president's side, even though he's not a direct owner, his sons are. And they're all huge, huge positive players in the crypto and digital industry and supporters of it, because I guess maybe they figure the next future for the Trump name is in the crypto world and in a digital world, not in building product anymore. And they're probably going to be right. Somebody's going to make trillions of dollars, but guess who's going to lose it? You and I. That's the one that's going to happen. These people, it's just literally another form of a Bitcoin, other than it's called something else, a Trump coin, whatever they want to call it. And they're offering the same thing. And if that gets legitimized, because you got to remember, the people who just bought that house, cryptos have not been legitimized, are going to literally tear things up. That's why Jamie Dimon, when he made the statement that we played the other day on TV, realized I've never seen him go off like that ever. He's a very staid, calm guy. And he sees a enemy at the gates financially, and they've been playing their game, and the other guys with the cryptos and the digitals are going to be playing their game. And at the end, when they all figure out, when the war is over and all the bodies are everywhere, guess who's going to pay for cleaning it all up? We are. That's why you own gold, period.
Here, I wish I could show you the screenshot, but maybe look real quick while I refresh. Under the Trump crypto plan, the family always wins, investors don't. That is from Reuters. That's what they're saying. And so, again, very interesting conversation here. Now, where are we at with the World Liberty Financial? Is that called the US Dollar One? What are they calling that thing? US Dollar One? Is that the same thing as World Liberty Financial? That's the group that started it? Okay, so where are we at with Liberty, the U.S. Liberty One or U.S. Dollar One? Are they trying to get that to become a medium of exchange or to peg things on a global scale? In other words, is this business trying to take away the power of the dollar and replace it with a currency that the players that be are heavily involved in?
Absolutely. But they're all creating a pseudo financial world. It's just like Peter said, they're legitimately creating all of these new financial products out of nothing. That's why the founders put us under gold. That's why we were under the gold standard. And in the 1790s, those guys with the white wigs, they didn't sit back and do that for nothing. They did it because maybe they didn't know about cryptos then, but this is exactly the reason why. We have a world that's being created out of smoke, right out of the air. And legitimately, they want to legitimize it. They want to tie it up. They want to use everything they can to get into financial control globally. It's all about money. And the problem is the people at the end that suffer are never those people at the top. The foam at the top of the beer is not going to suffer. It's the drink that's going to suffer. We are. We are going to be devalued, debased, and people that don't pay attention to it are going to suffer. That's why these central banks, and that's why you even had the Bitcoin guys talk about buying gold. Why? Because they know that maybe someday they're going to have that subprime world hit them. It could be a year from now, it could be 6 years from now, it could be 2 years from now, but sooner or later, this will explode. All of this, literally, a simple way to put it, hot air is going to blow up.
Ed Dowd said he thinks we're going to have, I think if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, Logan. I think Ed Dowd said he expects us to go to be the end of the dollar in the next 2 to 3 years. Is that right?
That's what they want at the end of this year. They want it to start the end. That's why we're warning people. And what's really crazy is what we talked about. I said last July when they passed the big, beautiful bill in the Genius Act and all this stuff started happening. And we did it here first at Worldview Weekend. Everybody should support, by the way. Everything we have said is coming to fruition. And I am warning you the end of the year, if those people who didn't buy gold before, looking at the bargains right now, you ought to be jumping on it because you're going to pay more later. And you're going to see the beginning of this reformation of our financial and monetary system once the digital world starts kicking into shape. And it's coming.
And you know what, Michael? I've been working with you guys for about 18 years. I just asked the computer, what was the price of gold and silver 18 years ago? It was around 880 to 930 bucks an ounce. So let's say 930 bucks an ounce. So 18 years ago, when I began working with you, and I was working with another company before that, so I've been talking about gold and silver a long time, since about, when I got on the air in 1995, I started talking about it. Because I was personally and privately talking about it since 1993 heavily. But since 18 years ago, when I started working with you guys, we'll just say gold was at about 900 bucks an ounce on average. 900 bucks for that year. 900 bucks an ounce. We're on the air tonight. It's around 4,079 bucks an ounce. Okay. Silver was at around $16 to $18 an ounce. Today it's 63. Now I don't give financial advice. I give financial opinion. Gold has gone all the way up to 5,000 bucks. Now it's come down, make a little correction. And my opinion is it'll go back up because we're in an inflationary environment. The dollar is going away. People are looking for stability, and central banks around the world apparently are preparing to back their cryptocurrencies and stable coins a percentage by real money, gold. With that being said, isn't it kind of interesting that so many people just keep sitting there wanting to keep all their chips on the table because they think they're making so much money on stocks? To which I say, you haven't made any money until you sell. And some of these folks, they're not diversified at all. They have everything in their IRA and their 401k, mutual funds, and they have very little diversification, maybe aside from their home. And I don't understand why people do that, why they don't go with diversification more. I know their financial planners probably discourage them from that. I'll tell you something else that's irritating. A lot of people get their education from us. They watch this program, they get their education from us, and then they go call another company as though there's something wrong with doing business with you guys. And we've been working with you for 18 years. 18 years. And you guys, your building's paid for. You've been around since the 1980s. And I don't know why they go do business. They get their education from us, some of them, and then go do business with another company. I don't know why. I don't know if they're shopping price, what they're shopping. But you got about a 14% margin. So, I mean, you've got to make money. Your company's got to make money.
That's on the numismatic, but the problem is people are, if it's all about price, just don't even bother. I mean, realistically, what we're about is a relationship and stability. We've been here for 44 years as a company. We've never missed a buyback. We have to pick up the pieces from so many people who can't get liquid anywhere.
Just so the audience understands, meaning when you buy from Swiss, they will turn around and buy it back. You've never missed a buyback one time.
Not one, and liquidity with us, if you don't live here, is usually 4 days. If you fly here and have lunch with me, you can leave with your money. The reality is we keep it, we don't sell it off, we don't ship other people's stuff. Everything is done in our facility, which is wonderful, wonderful windows that are bulletproof and a building that looks like a post office with a lot of guns. If you're going to come here and rob us, you ain't leaving, okay? But at the end of the day, I'm not going to, people have the right to do business wherever you want to. Just be realistic. I don't mind educating somebody for somebody else's benefit. But I like to eat dinner occasionally, I guess.
That's all you're going to say? You're going to be that nice?
I just, if it's all about that, we have people, I cannot even imagine how many phone calls I get a month from I'm so sorry I didn't do this. I should have done that. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, less is not more. Okay? Look into the entire stability and strength of people when you do business with them. It's like doing business with a handyman versus a licensed plumber. You got to fix it later. We legitimately have been around long enough. Everything we sell is under camera. Everything is visually viewed, weighed, and certified before we ship it out. None of these other people do that. We offer you the ability to review your portfolio. We give you ongoing information. We don't charge you when you liquidate. If you're our client, You don't charge you. If you call these other companies, some of them won't buy back unless you buy something else, and some of them charge ridiculous numbers. We don't. We want you're a force. You're literally an opportunity of inventory for us. So we keep it. So I guess what I'm saying to you is it disturbing or frustrating? Yeah, it is. But it's people's right. If you want to, go right ahead. But, we've been with Brannon, and I've seen people who call me up and watch for Brannon's freeze-dried food or other items that are offered and then look for the cheapest price elsewhere. I mean, really, if you go to the doctor and he tells you what's wrong with you and he wants to operate on you, and then you go to somebody else and you have a bad surgery, what did you do wrong?
Yeah. Well, I understand your frustration, and we get it because we have so many wonderful people that watch us and they support us either through our foundation or through purchasing of products from us, or giving to our foundation, as I said. But then there's a certain percentage, you're right. They're just a certain percentage of the audience. They're just here to take. They watch. They never donate. They never buy anything. They never support. And then we find out someone will tell us, oh, yeah, I brought freeze-dried food from this company, or I bought this from that company. I'm like, yet you watch all of our shows. You fill up our inbox with your emails. You text my wife nonstop. But yet you never want to support us. You just take. And sadly, that is a percentage of our audience. There is a percentage. Thankfully, it's a small percentage, but there are percentages that do that. They learn so much from us. They get educated from us, but they don't ever want to seem to do business to help keep the network going. But I'm just, like I said, I'm joining you in complaining on that percentage, and they shouldn't do that, but they do. There's a percentage. Thankfully, the bulk of the people don't, which is why we have so many happy viewers that have been with you guys for those 18 years. So that's wonderful. So again, get your free packet of information, no obligation, no risk, free pack, 1-877-864-1072, 1-877-864-1072, or worldviewgold.com, worldviewgold.com. With gold down almost $200 an ounce today alone. I don't know how far down it's going, but man alive, I think it's on sale right now, in my opinion. A great time to jump in, particularly with your IRA, moving some of your IRA into a physical metal that is secured and in a vault in Delaware with your name on it. Right, Michael?
Absolutely, and it's time to take action and act versus react. And if you have gold, if you have room to add more, add now. It's always a great time. This is an opportunity. This is like ice cream in a hot summer day. I mean, if you sit back and want to do something, this is time to take advantage of it. By the time you can figure out what went wrong, it'll be on its way back up again. That's the truth.
Yeah, it is the truth. Michael Weiner checking in, worldviewgold.com. Thank you, Michael.
Good night, Dolly.
All right, guys, that's our program for tonight. What a broadcast. Again, we need your support. Roll the music. Let's call it a night. Worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com. Thank you so much for your support so we keep pushing out free Christian worldview programming just like this. And again, if you want to join our vault and have access to 36 years of radio shows, TV shows, ebooks, audiobooks, documentaries, and the right to stream our fall conference this fall and more, and all of our free conferences. And we just added in the brainwashing class tonight for you to take. All of it, worldviewtube.com/vault. Till next time, I'm Brannon Howse. May God save America. Take care.
Faith, spiritual values, moral issues, government, economy, education, work, responsibility. What we think about these depends on our worldview. Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brannon Howse.
And welcome to the broadcast. Glad you're with us. You'll be joined by Bill Federer here for a few minutes. I want to talk about an article. It was over at Breitbart. Soviet defector said this back in the day. Soviets used anti-Semitism to attack America. Soviets used anti-Semitism to attack America. This Lieutenant General Pasipa, he writes in his new book, Disinformation, that the most severe damage the former Soviet machine inflicted on the West was the disinformation campaign perfected by Yuri Andropov. He's the former head of the KGB. Andropov was a former two-star general in the Secretariat, that's the secret police of communist Romania, and the highest intelligence officer ever to have defected from the former Soviet bloc. He writes, this former KGB officer, that more people worked in the disinformation campaign in the Soviet bloc than for the combined army and defense industry. What's interesting is this is very consistent with what Lunev told us. Lunev, who I actually had the privilege of interviewing back in 1998. Didn't remember doing that, but turns out I did. It's in our archive under the vault. He at the time was the highest ranking official to ever defect from the Soviet Union. And he said they spent, what may shock people is that the former Soviet Union spent more money on disinformation inside the United States than they did helping the Vietnamese during the Vietnam War. Now we have another guy saying the same thing. He said that the disinformation specialist, they worked on anti-Semitism. And they were rewarded when Palestinian terrorists who were trained in secret at the KGB Special Operations School east of Moscow hijacked an El Al plane in 1969 and flew it to Algeria, where they held its 32 Jews aboard for 5 weeks. I wonder if we could grab some footage of that. Can you imagine being held on a plane for 5 weeks? Well, they were held, and Andropov and his minions, the article says, used the media to depict America and Israel as threats to world peace. Later, Hesapov, the guy that affected, notes that Andropov broadened his plan. Heretofore, it was to hijack Israeli planes, but it mushroomed into organizing public execution of so-called Zionists. Andropov's disinformation efforts were working by 1972 to whip up Muslim belief that the U.S. was trying to make the Middle East a Zionist enclave, and that the U.S. Congress was a council of the elders of Zion. That didn't sound too different from today, does it? It's the Jews that run the White House, the Jews that run Congress, AIPAC. Yeah, a population that makes up 0.2% of the world's population. Who is it dumping billions and billions of dollars into America? That would be Qatar, would it not? Joining me now is Bill Federer, historian Bill Federer. Bill, welcome to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Well, great to be with you, Brannon.
You read this article. You sent me this article. Pretty interesting. Times don't change. Tactics don't change. The rise of anti-Semitism in America, we've been saying now for some time, is, we believe, coming from groups like Russia, China, Iran. These groups are funding this. And now this article pops up, dated July 12th, 2013. So sometimes we have to go back in history to remember things. Fascinating piece. Speak to it, please.
Yeah. So after the Cold War, or after World War II, you had the Cold War, where countries in Europe wanted to be Western and have republics and elect leaders. And the KGB didn't like that. And so they would send in agents to do critical theory, which is what? Observe all the groups. Ethnic groups, Bosnians, Croats, Serbs, religious groups, Sunni, Shia, Orthodox, economic groups, racial groups, and categorize them as victims or oppressors, haves and have-nots. And then they would identify the influencers of the groups and do what's called an influence campaign. And that would be finding all of your friends and your friends' friends and then begin to befriend them. Go to the same health club, right? And then bump into them. And then finally they would get introduced to you. And by that time, all of your friends knew this person and liked this person. And so you would have immediate trust. And then they would begin to plant divisive messaging, little seeds. They did this in America in the 1950s. And the influencers were who? Hollywood movie producers. And so they would invite the movie producers to their parties, and then they would seed them with Vietnam War is bad and capitalists are bad. And then they would begin to put this into their movies and disseminate it to their downline, the people who they were influencing. And their goal is a radical left and a radical right. They want two sides that they can pit against each other and then stir them up to violence and bloodshed. Why bloodshed? Because then people think emotional. There's killing in the street. We have to blame somebody. And they co-opt the media and blame the leader of the country. And when the people believe the media, this leader's popularity plummets. And then they can do a coup or a rigged election and nobody cares about it because by this time they hate that guy and they just want him out. And so then they have a honeymoon period where things seem to be nice. And then the Soviets stop organizing the rioting and it gets peaceful. And then they realize, you know what? We just gave up our free country and now we're a satellite of the Soviet Union and it's called Behind the Iron Curtain. Country after country would fall. And Truman does nothing because he thinks the United Nations he helped form will bring world peace. But the next president is Eisenhower, and he's faced with Iran siding with the Soviet Union, a leader named Mossadegh, their prime minister, and he nationalizes the oil industry in Iran. Why is that a big deal? Because in 1908, Winston Churchill helped set up the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, better known as BP. BP, British Petroleum, is the Anglo-Iranian oil company. And so when Mossadegh nationalizes, takes control of all of the oil in Iran, Britain is having an oil shortage. They appealed to Eisenhower for help. Eisenhower approves of Operation Ajax, where he sends the grandson of Teddy Roosevelt, his name's Kermit Roosevelt,